camp. And positive news in Cleveland, where Dante Foreman was released from the hospital on Thursday and will rejoin the Browns after suffering an apparent head and neck injury during practice earlier that morning. This has been NFL Network Now on Westwood One Radio Network.
All right, when it comes to getting life insurance for your family, a lot of excuses can get in the way. But ask yourself this. If something were to happen to me, who would pay the mortgage, the kids' education, and the other bills? Then forget the excuses and check out Ethos Life, the online, easy way to get life insurance in 10 minutes. Ethos has rates that you can afford, like a $500,000 policy for a 40-year-old male starting at $1 a day or $30 a month with a few health questions and no medical exam. Get your free quote right now at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com. Not available in all states. Rates do vary.
Savings. Now that's speaking the Lowe's language. And when you join My Lowe's Rewards for free, the savings just keep coming. Save money with member-only offers, plus earn points when you shop. More points equal more rewards just for you. Because Lowe's knows you earned it. Literally. Learn more about our loyalty program at Lowes.com/MyLowe'sRewards and become a member for free today. Program subject to terms and conditions. Points are awarded on eligible purchases. See Lowes.com/terms for full details. Subject to change.
What's going on? 6:01. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Hall of Fame game last night. A little bit of firepower. Unfortunate ending with inclement weather. Ended the game prematurely early, sending the Bears back to Chicago with the 21-17 victory. Brett Rippon threw 3 touchdowns, but the most interesting aspect of the game had to be the kickoff. None of the 8 kickoffs were returned past the 32. 3 were brought past the 26, a yard further than the old touchback, and there was 1 touchback that came out to the 30. Rough news for the Titans yesterday, as Tennessee Titans star receiver DeAndre Hopkins going to miss the next 4 to 6 weeks with a knee strain injury. That timeline puts him back to potentially be back in the lineup for the season opener. Chargers also dealing with an injury to a star player. Quarterback Justin Herbert diagnosed with a plantar fasciitis injury for the right foot after Wednesday's practice put him in a walking boot for 2 weeks, the team announced on Thursday. After the time in the boot, Herbert will gradually return to a play protocol and is expected to be ready for week 1. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your own for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Friday morning, kicking off the conclusion of your week on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Welcome in. Friday, and we're going to act like it. That is always our motto, our creed to you with Ramon Foster and Robert Walsh. I'm Will Bowling. Kayla Anderson has the morning off. 615-737-1045. How you jump in as the Titans offense begins to adjust without DeAndre Hopkins. We'll talk about the latest report concerning his health. VolQuest's Brent Hubbs joining us at 7:20 this morning after Tennessee football fall camp began earlier this week. And stock up, stock down. Titans camp week number 2. Ramon Foster, good morning.
Good morning, Will. Man, it's the first Friday of the unofficial football season, man. Let's go. I talked all that trash yesterday and did not get an opportunity to watch a second of the Hall of Fame game.
I'll be honest, I did not either.
God, I talked a lot.
A single second.
I was listening on the radio coming back, man, because this time of the year, middle school and high school teams are having scrimmages. And your boy here got another job, okay? And I'm helping with my son's middle school.
Exactly what you need with all your free time.
That's what I'm saying. All my free time. You were calling me. I was trying to listen to gymnastics 3HL in my earpiece yesterday while also trying to coach football, man. And the whole time I'm like, there's a game tonight. Here I am with a bunch of middle schoolers right now watching them talk about how hot it was yesterday. So, by the way, if you have any kid that plays summer sports right now, if y'all aren't hydrating your kids, something is wrong. Don't send them out there partially hydrated, okay? I told the boys yesterday after we were done, your urine should be clear, okay, by the time you come to practice. I don't want to force them to walk around in school with water bottles, but like parents, this time of the year, until we get to October, overhydrate your kids if they're playing outside sports right now because August is not kind, okay? It was steaming yesterday.
Yeah, it's a good time of year for those liquid IV supplements.
Yeah, those right
Very
there.
pro liquid IV.
Yeah. It was funny listening to the broadcast last night on the game, though, the NFL game. It was Bears and Chiefs? Texans. Bears and Texans.
You were locked in, clearly.
Told you I was.
You were
in
totally all the way locked in. Football's back in the Ramon Foster household.
I'm telling you, man. But it was you could see Cam Akers. They were so excited to say his name last night. It was like Cam Akers, a familiar name. I was like, yeah, that's about the only one I know right now. It wasn't much that was said on there, and they did a good job with the broadcast for all that I heard last night. But it was refreshing, man. I got in the car and I heard the whistles and the hitting of the pads, and I'll be honest with you, I smiled. I was like, we are so back. We are so back, man. So good on those guys. They should just make that a kick, punt, and throw contest, though, if I can be honest with you.
I think the highlight of the entire night, other than the new kickoff rules being showcased for the first time, was the fact that Joe Buck had a successful handshake that wasn't awkward. Did you see this? So remember a couple of years ago when Joe Buck and Troy Aikman did their first Hall of Fame game with ESPN, they had new Commanders owner Josh Harris on the broadcast, and Joe Buck reached out his hand at the end to awkwardly try to shake his hand, or I think it was Josh Harris who reached out and tried to awkwardly shake his hand, and the two just did not connect, and it was very much one of the leave you hanging, try to slyly act like you weren't actually trying to shake somebody's hand. And so Kevin Warren, the new president and CEO of the Bears, was on the broadcast once the rain delay started with Ryan Poles, the GM of the Bears. And at the end of it, Joe Buck shook their hands and goes, all right, we got a good handshake out of the way in the Hall of Fame game. We are back. It was great. I turned it on and immediately rain started falling and they immediately had to do the rain delay. So they did not want me watching football last night.
I'm not sure if it came down in Davidson County Metro, but it was sideways in Hendersonville, man, Sumner County. Yeah, buddy, it was pretty wild. My son was telling me on the bus ride back, of course, there's no AC on school buses, right? And it started coming down and they were stank and sweaty. He was like, that was the worst experience ever.
That's humble Hendersonville.
I said, get used to it, okay? You want to play football? This is the life you live when you travel on for school sports and with football pads.
Robert Walsh, good morning. How are you? Football's back. Congratulations.
I'm good. Happy to all those that celebrate.
I feel like you are very good as a preseason football viewer, because you love the draft so much, and you are a sicko like many of the rest of us that just enjoy watching Brent Rippon play against Tyson Bagent.
Dude, and he was ripping it last night, man. He was slinging it all over the place. So much so that in preseasons, they're trying to come up with talking points, trying to come up with conversations, and they're like, I really think this guy's going to push Tyson Bagent for the backup job. It's like, who cares?
Yeah, right.
Who cares, man? Let this guy have
football.
a good game, man. Let's just watch this. You did get to see some draft picks last night. You saw Blake Fisher out of Notre Dame play for the Texans. I thought that was pretty cool. And Quentin Tarantino, or I don't know what the hell his name was, but tied in with a Q last name, was he blocked most of last year.
Yeah.
Caught a touchdown last night. You could see C.J. Stroud going crazy for him. So I like moments like that.
How'd the young King Davis Mills do, man?
He stuck his long neck out there.
That's what I was wondering.
He stuck his long neck out there.
10 for 13, not bad for a guy like him, man. He gonna mess around and be our new legendary backup quarterback, man. He's Chase. Golly, what was Chase's last name?
Chase Daniel?
Chase Daniels.
They kind of dogged him on the broadcast.
No, they did.
They did. They were like, he had every opportunity to seize this job, just didn't show enough. That's why they went out and got C.J. Stroud. It's like, no, it's not that and they had the opportunity to draft one of the best quarterbacks in the draft. What do you mean? You had to throw my man under the bus that.
They were like me with my card yesterday when C.J. Stroud was there. They ran to the podium for him, okay? What are you talking about? By the way, I got a lot of praise for the Skip Bayless one yesterday, too.
Yeah, on the RKW draft.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Ramon is dominating our Twitter poll for the people that are easiest to hate in sports. Ramon Foster, we did this draft yesterday, and Ramon has 50% of the votes.
Yeah.
I'm in second with 21%. As long as I beat Caleb for second. I got to pick second or better next week.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Because the real winner is going to be whoever's behind the guy with 80,000 followers again on Twitter.
82,000.
Excuse me. Bragging.
Speaking of...
I'm so back. Yeah.
Speaking of quarterback battles, have you guys been following the Patriots story? So this has made it now to Cowherd.
Man.
Colin Cowherd did a show this week where he said, do not be surprised if Joe Milton beats Drake May for the Patriots quarterback job. This is kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean meme where the guy has the noose around his neck and Jack Sparrow is about to be, tried and, killed. And he looks over and just goes, first time?
Yeah.
This is y'all's first time doing the Joe Milton is the best practice player of all time. Has there ever been a player in the history of football who is better at practice than Joe Milton?
No.
Because he's fooled three very good organizations.
We are familiar with your game, all right? Like I'm not doing this again. Like JJ McCarthy, the worst case for New England is Jacoby Brissett's just their starters. They have Joe Milton at home. It's Jacoby Brissett.
My favorite part of it was you see all these people like, guys, this guy might be a guy coming in this morning. Brady Quinn was talking about how much he was like, he was fine at Michigan. He was fine at Tennessee. I don't know why Tennessee fans have such a problem with. Yeah, sure, because Brady Quinn never watched a game.
Exactly.
He didn't watch the game.
Exactly.
And not just that, like, to me, I'm a hateful 1 second, okay? We lost to Pitt because we thought that Hendon Hooker wasn't good enough, okay?
Right.
Like, the overthrows that happened in real live stadiums did not connect the way. And I love Joe Milton, okay? I love the fact that he continues to have a lot of talent.
Great ambassador.
Yeah, great
100%.
ambassador. Heck of an athlete, too. Let's
Very
just throw
much
that out there. He's doing the standing backflips and stuff on the field. But my thing is, give me the same way we spoke about, we're going to speak about stock up, stock down, John Njoku, right? That was my thing also with him is I love him. I love him when it was, no pads on and his footwork was good, etc. But when pads get on and he go in the stadium, I need to see what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat teasing the stock up, stock down thing.
Stop me if you've heard this before, guys. Michigan man, drafted in the 6th, goes to the Patriots, drafted behind or sitting behind another prolific quarterback. We could be doing this again, guys.
Yeah, the funnier comparison, him to Kirk Cousins or him to Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I was doing this with Blaine Bishop in the other room the other day. Where's RG3 at? He's in an announcing booth somewhere, and Kirk is getting paid on a bum at knee. Come on, man.
You keep gaslighting. It's a hornet's nest waiting on you outside, okay?
Literally. In Joe's defense, there is probably a pathway towards someone in the NFL taking a guy with that much athletic ability and making them into an NFL quarterback. However, that is not happening within a month. That's like, talk to me in 2026. If Joe Milton has an opportunity as a backup or gets a couple of games or gets moved to a coach that feels like he can get the best out of him, I wish him all the best. I hope it's true.
Well,
as a Vols fan, I'm wearing my UT shirt today, but
DeMario said, he also said, Bert, if you confirm this, he told UT fans to keep drinking and leave the quarterback evaluations to him because he got it.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to leave that to him.
He don't know, dude.
I'm good.
He don't know.
He hasn't watched.
He doesn't know.
He's a Big Ten guy.
He doesn't know.
Yeah. Future ACC legend, Brady Quinn. 615-737-1045 is our number. Chris on Twitter says, best practice player of all time is Racy McMath. Training camp Julio.
Yeah. I got a couple of
This is training
teammates.
camp Cam Newton.
You know who else was another one? This is going to get Bert. Dree Archer.
You ain't got to do that.
We can call Joe Milton Training Cam Newton.
Yeah.
Would be his nickname.
Here you go.
Streaming live at 1045 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Breaking story yesterday about DeAndre Hopkins, his lack of availability for the rest of camp. We'll talk about that next. Friday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW 104.5 The Zone, and streaming live on the 104.5 The Zone app. 615-737-1045, how you join us and discuss the big story of the morning. A report yesterday from Paul Kaharski that DeAndre Hopkins suffered a strained knee on Wednesday, and indications are he could miss 4 to 6 weeks. So 4 weeks would mean he would have a full week to prepare for the season opener in Chicago. 6 weeks would mean he would miss the Bears game and could be ready right before the Week 2 home opener against the New York Jets. Ramon Foster, how big of a deal is a DeAndre Hopkins knee strain to begin the month of August?
To begin the month of August, not that big of a deal. It's not. Here's the thing about it. When you hear these type of reports and stuff come out like that, it's usually worst case scenario on situations like that. And whenever I hyperextended my knee, it was 6 to 8 weeks. Is essentially what they told me coming out is, okay, we got to see how this is going to happen, 6 to 8 weeks. So I came back in 3.5. So that's where you are with this type of these type of reports that come out, is the idea that it's going to be worst case scenario. You want to give grace and time to a guy to not have him speed back. And the thing about it is, I think when you say that timeline, it gives you the idea that you want him back at 100%. Here's the thing about it. Nobody's really at 100% at these type of spots. And you somewhat say to yourself, well, I trust that D-Hop is the ultimate pro. I trust that the Rehab or the Titans will be at top tier for a guy like him. And truthfully, it doesn't bother me as much as it pertains to him, because I know what he's capable of when the ball is going to be kicked off. Am I upset about if he misses week 1? Well, I'll tell you this. It's hard sometimes for a guy to miss that opening weekend. It just is, man. You want to be a part of it. The fear of missing out, man, is always going to be there. And I believe D-Hop is the ultimate competitor when it comes down to putting on display his talent still for this upcoming season, man. He's got a lot to prove, but I think 4 to 6 weeks is probably worst case scenario. I can see him being back out there that gap week before the season starts, man, and filling it out.
So a knee strain, is that something that is going to linger and be a thing this season? Or is this something you could put to bed whenever you come back?
It can be. It can, because here's the thing about it. The way the sport is played at his position, the stopping and starting, I guess the pressure that he can put on that knee and how he goes down if somebody hits it, it can be problematic for a guy like him. But the thing that we've seen is about D-Hop is what? He's not going into traffic like that, right? When he catches the ball in traffic, he's going down. And he's not a fighter for yards as it pertains to guys wrapping him up and hitting him low and dragging around that leg and whatnot. He knows how to fall. I know we've heard Ron Slay say that on this show, like, you got to know how to fall. Like, he's one of those dudes. So I can't see him being a Treylon Burks fighting for extra yards. The thing that he'll have to do and stay on top of is the prehab of it more than anything. Right. It can be an issue, Will, but he's the type of guy that I think will be a pro. We might see this year for the first time D-Hop not practicing until Friday and being ready for the game. And that's why, again, you want to have a plethora of talent as it pertains to guys having these types of injuries if something does flare up. So I'm not overly worried because it's him. He's old enough to understand how to deal with it. He might have a flare-up. He might have to you'll see guys wear those long compression sleeves on their legs and stuff. That may be him to keep fluid out. I would doubt if it's just a sprain, that you'll have an ongoing inflammation problem with them over the course of the year, especially, Will, we got 3 weeks before the season starts. 4 weeks before the season starts.
Yeah, we're 4 weeks.
So, no, I think he'll take care of that more than anything.
I think the challenging part for me on Hopkins is that he is really the only member of this offense that is building on an already established connection with Will Levis. That, to me, is where this gets tricky, because DeAndre Hopkins was the ultimate safety valve and was the ultimate break glass in case of emergency player outside of Derrick Henry last season. So in one way, yeah, if there's one guy that doesn't need the additional practice time with Will Levis, it's DeAndre Hopkins. I have no concerns about those two being on the same page, knowing where they need to be, and what have you. But I just don't think this offense is nearly as good without him. If they got to go to Chicago, and the way this season is going to work, the way this schedule is going to work, every single win or loss is always important in this league, but especially this season where 2 games might separate second and fourth in the AFC South.
That's true.
And it might be one of these NFC games that ultimately ends up making a big difference. So it's better that week 1 obviously is not an AFC game, what have you, for that tiebreaker purpose. However, I just don't know what this offense really looks like without Hopkins in there, considering we don't know who in the world is the right tackle when you go to Chicago as well. You are going to need a break glass in case of emergency player. And while, yes, Calvin Ridley can be that guy as well, and Tyler Boyd is the ultimate safety valve as the slot receiver, I just worry about this when Will Levis needs all of the constants, needs all of the things that he knows versus thinks as he can possibly get. He's having one taken away from him in a crucial time.
He is, right? So here's the thing about this. To me, if he didn't have time, if this was a week before the season started, that Will Levis had D-Hop go out, DeAndre Hopkins go out of the come out of the lineup, I'd be a little bit more worried. This is where we were speaking, I think, a couple of days ago, Will, maybe on Monday before we went out to Titans practice. This is where I was with Will Levis. Speaking about, remember we had the conversation on 1s and 2s. Who's number 1 wide receiver that was going to get the amount of targets between D-Hop and Calvin Ridley? To me, I think this is the ultimate setup for him to really build up to where his discovery of what Calvin Ridley is to me. Now he has no choice but to understand that Calvin's the guy. Now, instead of finding my break glass in case of emergency with D-Hop, I have to go to a guy like Calvin Ridley. It also puts Calvin Ridley in a spot that I don't think he's been in a while also either. In Atlanta, he was emerging as that number 1 guy. In Jacksonville, he somewhat turned into that number 1 guy, right? Now it is his opportunity to really step up and show what he's capable of to not just Will Levis, but to the entire team. Like, you don't sign a guy like Calvin Ridley if you don't believe he's capable of being the number 1. I think this is the perfect scenario if you were to ask coaches, who do you need and not need in practice? We really don't need D-Hop because of what you just said, Will. Yeah, right. Will Levis, you're good with him.
And it's a good thing the Cabo trip happened, right?
It really is.
I mean, genuinely, this is why you do the off-season routes on air 7-on-7 adjacent things with your wide receiver as the quarterback, because if somebody goes down in the middle of training camp, at least you've already had time working with them.
You know why I'm shaking my head. Maybe you don't.
You've already seen the Infinite Bank chat?
Yeah.
And on the YouTube channel, a man named Ron Slay is already up and at him.
He is.
On YouTube saying, and y'all know what? Here comes Treylon Burks.
Yeah. But before we get to him, here's the thing, though. Calvin really needed this, I think, because you have an OG guy, like D-Hop, and that's where I was. I'm not worried because if Will Levis. So here's the thing, though, too. If Will Levis can't develop this relationship and this rapport with Calvin Ridley, I'm gonna start questioning him a little bit more too.
Sure,
I think the evolution of Will Levis, because here's the thing: if Will Levis is gonna be the quarterback for the future for this team, right now they don't have a young, up and coming wide receiver. They don't have a Roman Dunze, right? They don't have these guys. They don't have a Roma Dunze, right? Yeah, that has been proven. They don't have a Michael Thomas Jr. This squad doesn't have that guy yet. A young guy.
Tank Dell. Nico Collins.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I get it.
He doesn't have that guy yet. The thing that Will Levis is going to have to do over the course of his career, the evolution of himself, is have a new guy come in, develop, and make him a dude. He now has the opportunity with Calvin Ridley to do these types of things because it's going to be a revolving door finding wide receivers and understanding who the next guy is going to be. And now is his opportunity to develop the next guy.
I think that's interesting, too, because you think about drafting a wide receiver to fit what Will Levis does well. The Titans haven't done that yet.
No, they have not.
The Titans are getting established wide receivers who have established skill sets and telling Will Levis, learn what this guy does well, and you do it really well.
Yeah. Yes. And that's why, to me, like I've always said, having quarterbacks that can make the next star. I watch my quarterback Ben go from Hines to AB, or Hines to Mike Wallace to AB, or Plexico to Hines. Like, those are the things we were saying, right? And then from Antonio Brown to Deontay Johnson. That, to me, is the next step that we have to watch Will Levis do. And that solely falls on his shoulders, Will, which is why I'm not afraid of D-Hop being out of practice. I'm not afraid of watching this offense figure out who's the next guy to step up. Tyler Boyd, we've seen him make plays this preseason so far in training camp and practice. Right? Now we have had that conversation. Okay, well, who's going to be your go-to guy? And again, to that point earlier, Will, you asked the question of, all right, is this an ongoing lingering thing for a guy like D-Hop? I said I don't think it is, but what if it turns into that?
Right.
Now, that relationship, that sitting around the campfire with Calvin Ridley moving forward can be I'm talking about very productive for this team if he sets it up right in training camp right now.
So here's what I think they're going to do. And this will sound weird when I initially say it. I think Nick Westbrook-Akine is more of the Hopkins replacement than Treylon Burks is. Because I think when you say, all right, who is going to run DeAndre Hopkins' routes that are specifically designed for him, Nick Westbrook-Akine is a better fit to do that than Treylon Burks is. So what I'm not saying is that Treylon Burks won't get any opportunities. Treylon Burks is going to see the field more because of this injury, but I don't think it's going to be running DeAndre Hopkins' routes. I think you are going to see Nick Westbrook-Akine now step into a more prominent role where he is the possession wide receiver is what I'm saying. I don't think Treylon Burks' best function within this offense is by being the possession wide receiver. Treylon Burks needs to be moved around the formation. Treylon Burks needs to be running in-breaking routes. You need to be running the Treylons down there somewhere play occasionally with Treylon Burks. So, again, I'm not saying that I'm giving up on Treylon Burks and that this doesn't mean anything for Treylon. This is a huge opportunity for Treylon Burks to be kind of the joker within this offense now because there is playing time to be had. In my opinion. Am I crazy for thinking that's the way they're going to replace this production?
I do just a little bit because here's the reason. Coaches love a guy that works, right? And with a lot of talent. But we've heard Brian Callahan say this. I think now is the time to where this staff, who admitted in the intro, I don't know a lot about Treylon Burks. Now is Coach Brian Callahan and Nick Holt's opportunity to see, how does he develop in the pressure cooker? And they will have the answers because I'll say this. I would really be I'm gonna jump out here and say I think the Titans' first pick next year should be a wide receiver because of D-Hop aging, Calvin's 30 plus. We still don't know what Treylon Burks can turn into. But here's the thing about it. If Treylon can develop into a dude this year because of the absence of D-Hop in training camp, then you have the opportunity to say, all right, now we may have to just take a wide receiver in a second. Like, I think it will be pressed to find the next guy. But Treylon, to me, I think should be able to carve out a big role in training camp right now because of the absence of D-Hop. We saw him probably be fourth in line. Fourth in line probably, right? Behind the first two, Tyler Boyd, and then it was Treylon the way I somewhat saw it. And to your point, NWI consistently gets the ball thrown in his way.
He's a good player. Treylon, this is not a dig at Treylon Burks. It's not, I don't think I'm being too unrealistic to say that Nick Westbrook-Akine gets a lot more snaps now, too, because of DeAndre Hopkins going down. 100%. You know what you have in him, and he is going to run the same kind of routes. He's going to run your 10-yard hitch at the sticks and make a tough catch. He's going to stick his neck out there over the middle of the field, and he's going to hold on to the football. I want Treylon Burks to have a big role within this offense, but I want him doing Treylon Burks things, not DeAndre Hopkins things. If I need a like-for-like replacement to get me through a couple weeks, I'm good with that being Nick Westbrook-Akine and now featuring Treylon Burks in different ways as a Deebo Samuel kind of playmaker within this offense. Because that is what he always was coming into the draft was, hey, this guy can be like Arkansas Deebo Samuel.
So I listened to what you said right there. You said you don't want him doing D-Hop things. That's very true. That's your point.
That's all I'm saying. Is
yes. Yeah.
The D-Hop replacement is Nick Westbrook-Akine when you talk about somebody who is a possession wide receiver who's going to run a 15-yard hitch or a 10-yard out or on 3rd and 6, a guy that you need to stick in between the zone and the middle of the defense and make a difficult catch. I'm not saying Treylon Burks can't do that. However, I want Treylon Burks running the A.J. Brown routes. I want Treylon Burks running the slant
and we've seen that
and the
in
goes.
Camp.
We've seen that in camp.
Yep.
We've seen him be successful when he's healthy, doing the A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel kind of thing.
Treylon Burks work.
I'm not saying that he's A.J. Brown. I'm not saying he'll ever be Deebo Samuel either. However, I want Treylon Burks doing what is best for Treylon Burks.
I get that. That's D-Hop's a different individual.
So all I'm saying is this opens up an opportunity, but I don't think that Treylon is going to be the like-for-like replacement.
No, you can't.
DeAndre
That's unfair.
Hopkins.
That's unfair to Treylon.
There you go.
That is unfair to Treylon. Yes, 100% right. But what we've seen out of camp so far has been those deep digs, has been those post routes. We've seen him come back to the ball. We've seen him run 5 to 7 yard ends. Like, that is his game right there. And I ain't got no problem with this. The best thing that you got going for this group right now, man, is they did stockpile some unknown talent. But I'll say this. I think we feel okay about Trayshawn Harris, Jaquan Jackson, Tyler Boyd.
I feel great about Jaquan Jackson.
If we had this issue last year with the group that they had, I think we'd be putting our head in the dirt. Now, with 4 weeks, right now, you feel a whole lot better. We ain't even mentioned, Will, the tight ends, and you also have 2 pass-catching running backs. I don't think is as detrimental to this offense this year as it would have been last year. Now, I say all that to say, I want D-Hop back out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
This is why you don't trade Treylon Burks. This is why every good NFL team that's going to run 3 wide receiver base personnel needs a good 4th wide receiver, especially when all of your good wide receivers are in their 30s.
Yep.
Or approaching their 30s.
But the one I want to see him be buddy, arm around his shoulder, let me see Levis and Calvin together a lot.
I would agree.
Yeah.
615-737-1045 is our number. Coming up, Ramon Foster's old head coach is in headlines. He has a very unique way to prepare for the new kickoff rule. Some might say he has had an unfair advantage in the way he has been allowed to prepare for the new NFL kickoff rule. And we'll talk about that next. Hey, what's going on? It's Will Bowling. Are you looking to check some items off your home to-do list? Of course you are. My list is way too long at this point of the summer. Maybe you're a little encouraged, you're motivated, you're trying to freshen up your home's look before hosting friends and family for a cookout. Well, available 24/7, 365, the Lee Company Home Improvement Professionals have you covered. From pressure washing your driveway or deck to drywall repairs, landscape lighting, painting, and more, Lee Company, they are all you need. You got to contact Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit them online at leecompany.com to schedule your appointment. These guys are great. You give them your to-do list. You tell them where to go. They will take care of things for you safely, efficiently, and quickly. 615-567-1000. That's leecompany.com for all your home improvement needs this summer. Lee Company, all you need. Friday morning, and I've got a bone to pick with Ramon Foster's old head coach.
What do he do now?
615-737-1045 under Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW. Of course, I am talking about Pittsburgh Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. I have no bones to pick with Philip Fulmer.
We're
on great terms.
Not a now?
So Mike Tomlin at the annual NFL League meetings was having his face digitally scanned, a great way to start any story, by EA Sports. And he is a member of the competition committee, which, of course, developed and proposed changes to the new NFL kickoff. So this story from NFL.com yesterday says that Mike Tomlin got to test out everything he wanted to test out on the new Madden video game before any other coach could get their hands on it. And Mike Tomlin literally helped EA Sports and Madden develop the new kickoff. So apparently, according to this story, nothing was off limits. They even put, at one point, he was playing the game, they put TJ Watt at kicker to try to see what that would look like. See, let's see if on this game our edge rusher can get the ball into the landing zone by the 25-yard line or in, and see if a defender can actually kick it to see how much that helps. They put Justin Fields in at one point at returner. They tried TJ Watt at kicker. They tried all these different things. Ramon, why does your head coach have a head start in beta testing this new kickoff?
Because if you really know him, man, he's a funny guy. But I'll say this, though, too. And he'll say this to you. He's a nerd when it comes down to those types of things, the intangibles of the game. He will ask all the questions. He will get every scenario out there. And he's one of those things that you don't want to be ill-prepared for. But he acknowledged that his kids played Madden. He was somewhat intrigued by it, but he's a dude that is going to find any advantage he possibly can on the hows and the whats. I wonder if that's the case. Did he consider having a position player like a Justin Reed who kicks?
That's right.
Be a kicker also.
The Chiefs have talked about that and having Justin Reed do it.
Yes. That's fascinating, Will, because again, when you played against Bill Belichick for all those years, okay, there's a lot of things that you want to uncover to make sure you never run into another Bill Belichick person again. So I can see that being a scenario for him. And again, the special team coach, Coach Danny Smith, is one of those guys that will try to find any and every little thing. If you've ever had a conversation with a special team coach, by the way, they're like specialists. You want to talk to them, because nobody really talks to them, okay? And because of that...
Morgan Cox is going to call us a preach.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Because they're so interesting, because they, for the most part, on most teams, they are the encyclopedia of rules when it comes down to what you're supposed to know and not know, because they got to coach every position.
Yeah.
That's what we spoke about before with Coach Harbaugh in Baltimore. The ability to be around every position, because he was a special team guy first. He got to know the linebackers, the O-line, what everybody is doing in those positions. So I know he's very tight with Coach Danny Smith, and I promise you, Coach Danny Smith wanted to know a lot of that type of stuff too.
There's only one thing they should have asked Tomlin. Hey, how do we concern ourselves with this? Making sure the head coach can stay off the field during the kickoff.
I knew
it. Hey, coach, how do we know you fixed this. How do you make sure you don't interrupt the kickoff from happening?
I knew it. I knew you was going to say that. And you know what? And by the way, man, not to black cloud it real quick, but he was late to rest this past weekend, man. Jacoby Jones, man, rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Yes,
R.I.P.
man. Speaking of that play, super cool dude, though. But that's coaches. They want to know every single thing around what's happening, considering you play against Cincinnati and Baltimore.
Oh. There were no big plays last night on the new NFL kickoff that was debuted in the Hall of Fame game between the Bears and Texans. Devin Hester even talked about it on the broadcast, said, I'm surprised we're not seeing more big runs. That is because I don't think anyone is going to debut the schemes that they are actually going to use when this thing really begins. I think you're going to see as vanilla of blocking assignments and just turn around, pick up your guy, and block the guy standing in front of you. It is interesting what Coach Mack told us yesterday, that the pin and pull schemes and essentially treating these like their run plays and pulling the equivalent of guards is going to be really interesting.
It will be. That's where the advantage of the Titans having mobile guys, like if they got a fast backup like a Jalen Duncan that can get off,
yep,
and kickoff returns, like that can be a big competitive edge for a guy like him.
Robert Walsh is scheming behind you. He's put a picture of a yelling Mike Tomlin. If you're watching on 104.5 The Zone TV, Mike Tomlin's silhouette just appeared right over Ramon Foster's right shoulder.
I've seen that look before, okay? Why you got to be like this on a Friday, man? You're not acting like how we're supposed to act on a Friday, man.
He's got another
What's wrong
one
with
now.
you? That ain't Mike Tomlin.
Just throw up pictures of Brandon Ayuk up there. This is the same picture.
What?
Corporate wants you to find the difference between these two pictures.
What internet service are you using right now?
Just looked
Google
up
Chrome.
Mike
That's Google
Tomlin
Chrome?
funny.
What is
The
wrong
purple
with you,
Google
man?
Chrome. Is this the Joe Hunk of Google Chrome?
Yes. Sometimes when Joe leaves his Google up, I just type in like hot buff guys, just to throw his algorithm up. Throw his
I'm gonna spit
algorithm.
my coffee out.
Something is wrong with you.
I'm talking about completely wrong with you. This is
hot guy.
This is a work Wi-Fi you're using right now.
It's not my Chrome account. You know his
Fix
wife.
it, Bird.
His
Fix
wife
it.
will
He's
probably
fixing
be
something, all right.
looking at his history. Be like, baby, in between your Spider-Man and Ninja Turtle search, why did you look up hot buff guys?
Fix it, Bert. Look at, and you see it clearly behind me too.
Yeah, you do.
Robert, something is wrong with you, dog, and I appreciate it.
It's like the weekend update on SNL when you've got the chroma key.
Meow.
Got the graphic right above your shoulder.
See, now that I know I can pull this off, I'm going to have to put more things behind his head.
Yeah, I had no idea. I'm looking like I'm trying to be a radio pro here. I'm not a journalist. I'm trying to be a radio pro here, and Will is over here giggling. Will is over here giggling, and lo and behold, is Bert. Man, if y'all go to Zone TV, you will see the best image in the world. I'm gonna kill you. After
Like the stream.
Yeah, like the stream, by the way. Come on, we got to get these likes up. What's wrong with y'all,
hit the subscribe button on the 104.5 The Zone YouTube channel while you are there. When we say it is Friday, we're going to act like it. This is what we mean.
That is perfect, though. That placement is wrong.
615-737-1045. Everything we know about DeAndre Hopkins. Will Levis spoke earlier this week about not relying too much on his number one target from last season. Well, he's not going to have Hopkins for the next 4 to 6 weeks. And we'll tell you what the quarterback said about it coming up.
What's going on? 7 o'clock. Good morning. Happy Friday from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Hall of Fame game last night had a little bit of firepower. Unfortunate inclement weather ended the game early, sending the Bears back to Chicago with a 21-17 victory. Brett Rippon threw 3 touchdowns, but the most interesting aspect of the game had to be the kickoff. None of the 8 kickoffs returned beyond the 32. 3 were brought back to the 26, a yard further than the old touchback, and there was 1 touchback that came out to the 30. Tennessee Titans star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins will miss the next 4 to 6 weeks with a knee strain. That timeline puts him back in line to potentially be in the lineup for the season opener. Chargers also dealing with an injury to a star player. Quarterback Justin Herbert diagnosed with plantar fasciae injury in his right foot. After Wednesday's practice, they'll put him in a walking boot for 2 weeks. After time in the boot, Herbert will be on a gradual return to play protocol and is expected to be ready for week 1. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Seven a.m., hour number 2, getting started on your Friday morning journey of Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Over the next 3 hours, 615-737-1045. We'll get you a little bit closer to your weekend. In 20 minutes, VolQuest's Brent Hubbs will stop by. He says the hay is in the barn for David Sanders with 15 days until his decision. What is the absolute latest? This is what everyone wants to know, who wears orange, but, well, hay's in the barn. So probably not a lot to update you on, but Brent will give us the best insight in the business coming up here in 20 minutes.
Well, that type of announcement was necessary because did you see his high school profile picture that he posted? Well, they had a photo shoot as a high school team, which is huge.
Was he wearing orange?
No. Their school is red and white, or white and red. And of course,
what does it mean?
He had on some Ohio State gloves.
Oh no!
It was necessary. I even had people close to the program hit me up. Was like, "You see it?" And Hubbs has always told us, and Austin too. Brent Hubbs and Austin Price have always told us he enjoys recruiting. The entire process. David Sanders is who we're speaking of right now. And from my understanding, his family has done a really good job of surrounding him, letting him enjoy this process. And they, as a family, will make a decision on August 17th. So Vols fans are underneath his pictures. Ohio State fans are underneath his pictures. Nebraska was underneath his pictures. I couldn't imagine being 16, 17 years old with that type of profile of his that he has right now.
Well, the number 1 player in the next class also commits this upcoming weekend, and quarterback Faison Brandon will get all the latest on that as well with Brent Hubbs coming up here in 20 minutes. DeAndre Hopkins will be out for 4 to 6 weeks in a report first said by Paul Kuharsky yesterday. A strained knee that he suffered at Wednesday's Titans training camp practice, meaning he could miss 4 to 6 weeks. Ramon Foster, you feel like it is likely going to be closer to 4.
The way guys are, I feel like when we get these type of reports, it may come from a trainer or somebody around the program, wherever it comes from. But usually guys get back sooner.
Meaning the prognosis itself. The time span.
You know, you go to the doctor and they say, hey, you got 3 weeks to make it happen. Well, it's just a scar on my ankle, sir. I'll be all right in a week or 2. Like, that's essentially what's going on. They overdiagnose sometimes to give you that time to get back so that you don't feel pressurized to make it back. I know in my situation, I was told 6 to 8 weeks, potentially missing a couple of games when I hyperextended my knee. We're talking about a sprain. Now, I don't know how big of a sprain it is. Nobody knows the grade of it. But if I was to know what type of guy D-Hop is, with how he takes care of his body, with his own doctors, I'm sure, and with the Titans team doctors, I'd expect him to be practicing the week before the Chicago game, that dead week in between the season.
Is a sprain and a strain the same thing?
Same thing, I think. Yeah, okay. I think it's stretching of the tendon, and stretching of the muscle. Yeah,
I think it's a difference in difficult or in
grade.
Yeah, so
severity.
Here, I'll get you there you go. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you for the intelligent person there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, look at Will over here. He was in the big brain over there.
That's right.
That's what I'm talking about. But I think it's very good for Will Levis. To me, I ain't gonna say it's good for Will Levis. I think the challenge now goes more on Will Levis's plate to figure out how to survive without D-Hop. And that, to me, ain't a bad thing for the excuse me, I was about to choke up over here. That ain't a bad thing for this team and this franchise. A lot of answers have to be a lot of questions have to be answered as it pertains to Will Levis, and this, to me, is probably the best case scenario for him in his career. If he comes out of this thing like a phoenix out of the ashes, man, to show that he's capable of developing a different rapport with a new wide receiver, that's so huge for him.
That was beautiful.
You like that?
You're like a phoenix from the ashes. Who do you think you are?
Man, I know Laura's in our chat and she's a teacher, so being able to reference certain things, albeit history or words, your boy is here for it, okay?
What noise do you think a phoenix would make as it rose from the ashes? Thank you.
7:06.
Is Mike Tomlin still over my shoulder the way you had him earlier?
No, you got Olympic 3-on-3 basketball behind you now.
You need to leave.
So Will Levis now forced to create relationships with other guys and forced to build chemistry with other wide receivers. He was asked earlier this week about not relying too much on DeAndre Hopkins and had this to say.
Yeah, it's probably not the best to have that mindset, I'd say. You really just want to find the open guy, but it might be a thing like, hey, if it's not wide open, I got whoever on a backside dagger that I really want to work this, and it might let you get you through progression a little faster. But in a game, it's a different thought process. But when we're in camp or 7-on, stuff like that, where we can kind of experiment with that, that's the time to do it.
I do think he'll likely do a little bit more experimenting with guys like Nick Westbrook-Akine and Treylon Burks who are going to fill in for Hopkins.
So we did get a little levity on the sprain versus strain situation. So a sprain is when it involves a ligament, and a strain is when it involves a muscle or a tendon.
Perfect.
Look at the community over here, man.
Appreciate it, Chris and Franklin.
2 doctors in here. Jen Neal also said the same. And CJ New, is that Ekibop in there? Also said he is a doctor.
No, Ekibok would just text me. I don't think he would go to the F&M Big Chat.
But they both are saying the same, though. This person, the athletic trainer, saying a sprain is to a ligament and a strain is to a muscle.
Okay.
Have you ever seen an MRI of a pulled muscle?
No.
Oh, my. It is fascinating to see because where it's strained or you pull it at is a big old, like, white blob right there. It's like this is the concentration area right there. It's fascinating to see, man, on a MRI.
Well, this is a strain for DeAndre Hopkins. It is nice, though, that for once, a wide receiver can go down and we're not all freaking out.
Like, seriously.
I mean, the people that just like freaking out are going to freak out anyway. They're going to freak out if Mason Kinsey goes down with a toenail. But there is an element of this roster is finally built to withstand a little bit of wear and tear from your top receivers. And when you have a lot of top receivers who are this late in their careers, you have to have a good plan B. We're going to find out how good of a plan B Treylon Burks is.
We are. And also this, too, is a really good study on the age thing also. Like, I know we got by with D-Hop last year, too, and a muscle strain is this. Like, if it's muscle related, right? That could be hydration for everybody moving forward. Now, I'd expect a guy like D-Hop to be very hydrated and understand, but it's been hot these last couple of days. Like most of this week, it has been steaming out there. And the one thing about camp is the war of attrition. Can you put all the hydration back into your body before going to the next practice? Yeah. And the truth be told, Will, a lot of guys, that answer is no.
Right.
And D-Hop is a very lean athlete, meaning he may have drank enough water or hydration to get back to a point, but it may have not been good enough to sustain another practice.
Sure.
And that's where this type of stuff comes into play is this is why camp is what it is, and as long as it is also, and it's challenging because coaches have to figure out how to get guys back to zero if they lose all of those fluids from the day before.
Demario on YouTube asks, what position are we not built for wear and tear? I would say wide receiver and running back are the only two positions where a starter could go down and you're not immediately freaking out. Right. They're the only ones where you have legitimate depth.
Yeah.
Because if Tony Pollard or Tajay Spears, something happened to one of those two, you still have a legitimate feature back. At wide receiver, one of your top three can go down. You still have three high potential wide receivers who are at least somewhat proven commodities. But anywhere else on this team, you lose Chikakonkwo, you lose
Nick Vannett. I give him a grace just a little bit.
No, I think you're giving a little too much grace.
Yeah, I give a little bit to him.
I think if you lose one of your 5 offensive linemen,
no, we talk about right tackle, right guard. Seriously,
if you lose one of your defensive linemen, not a lot of depth there. Not a lot of depth at inside linebacker. Not a lot of depth at edge, corner, safety. And again, that's where this team can be pretty good. The Titans can be frisky. The Titans could absolutely be a playoff team this year. Don't let anybody tell you differently. But this is the one element that could make that difficult because the depth behind the free agents they've signed is not great. And that is where, again, you're going to rely on either undrafted guys or draft picks who have not hit the way you expected them to, a la a Treylon Burks, or you're relying on guys you just drafted, like a Jarvis Brownlee or a Jaquan Jackson, to immediately step up and be a dude when that's probably not their original timeline to dude-dom.
And I'll add to it with this too. The reason why is these guys haven't been proven. I don't know what they're capable of doing.
Sure.
In these scenarios, like we're talking about Trey Avery being in the position if somebody goes down, right? Like, what does that look like? Jaquan Jackson, like, what does that look like if somebody else goes down? Like, Chance Campbell, if Kenneth Murray's not out there, or Jack Gibbons, or Cedric Gray, like, which we hadn't talked a lot about in general this training camp.
No, he's far from being a starter at this point of camp.
Yeah,
Cedric Gray.
He is. But again, when you draft guys like him, it may be a 1 or 2 year process of getting him up to speed too. So you also, to that point, will have some depth. It's just you still got to build up the quality of it. And that's also on the coaching staff. To me, the development side of getting guys up to par. Like, we've seen a good bit of development from this O-line. Peter Scoronski in his first offseason has developed. Would you say?
Looks like a new person.
Yes, he does.
He looks like a totally different human being.
Yeah, and that's on the coaching staff to help that type of so. To your point, there are bodies there. We just don't know what those bodies look like as pros.
We're going to talk about it more when we do our week 2 stock up and stock down at a training camp. I think Peter Scoronski looks to me like he is ready to be a legitimate star as an interior offensive lineman this season.
I'm excited about him as Indianapolis was excited about Quentin Nelson.
Yeah. Don't look down, but there's another Mike Tomlin face over Ramon Foster's right shoulder on 104.5 The Zone TV.
What is wrong with you? We must have lost.
Coming up
somebody
next,
got arrested. That's the type of
VolQuest's
look.
Brent Hubbs will join us. Fall camp is underway. Who looks good? And how do the Vols look for the number 1 quarterback in the country in 2026, who is scheduled to commit this upcoming weekend? Brent Hubbs gives us the latest next.
You need to leave.
It's Ramon Foster here for Wesley Mortgage, man. I've always told you, all things starts with their owner, man, Chuck McDowell. One, he's a local Nashville native and cares about this community and is proud to serve it. Chuck, he reinvests in the people and the places that make Nashville such a wonderful place. So while other mortgage companies are downsizing, Chuck McDowell and the Wesley Mortgage team are rapidly expanding in Nashville, keeping people working in the career that they love, and they love to have you join their team. Chuck and the leadership team at Wesley Mortgage have a support system in place to help you succeed in the mortgage business, ensuring your loans close on time, making sure you get paid, giving you back the time to build your business, and bring back the fun to the mortgage profession. They have unique networking opportunities with the Tennessee Titans, yes, that team, and the Music City Grand Prix. They make closing deals and building relationships fun again. So if you're in the mortgage industry and you're tired of the grind, just tired of the pressure and tired of micromanaging everything to make sure your clients get handled correctly, then you owe it to yourself to go to whywesley.com. Genesis Diamonds is opening up its vault with their largest GIA Diamond event ever. Starting Saturday for a limited time, all Genesis GIA Diamond engagement rings will be marked, listen to me, 20% down. That's 20% below Genesis' already unbeatable price. This means you can buy like a dealer buys with deep discounts on over $10 million in stunning diamond rings. These remarkable savings are on every GIA Diamond engagement ring, from a half a carat to up to 20 carats. Yes, all shapes too. Rounds, princess cuts, cushion cuts, emeralds, oval, pear shape, doesn't matter. Remember, all Genesis diamonds are handpicked, come straight from the diamond cutters, are graded by the GI, the most prestigious gem lab in the world. At Genesis, you know their everyday prices are unbeatable, but for this event, they're taking the vault to a whole new level with an additional 20% in savings. Don't miss this chance to save like never before on that exquisite diamond ring. So buy like a dealer buy, starting Saturday for a limited time exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Listen, we'll limit one per customer. See them at Green Hills or Cool Springs.
Prince's Hot Chicken, the original hot chicken. They know a thing or two about hot, so they're bringing you the hottest moments from RKW throughout the week in a segment I like to call Prince's Hot Mic.
But I am curious to know from all of you, if you guys were coaches, what music would you be listening to, or what artist?
I got one instantly for you guys. Bob Marley. Don't worry.
Ooh.
About a thing. Yeah, I'm telling you.
'Cause
Every little thing. It's gonna be all right.
Hot Mike's Hot Chicken, Prince's Knows Hot. Prince's Hot Chicken, the original hot chicken.
Friday morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW 104.5 The Zone. With Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Kayla Anderson has the morning off. Robert Walsh is our esteemed producer. And joining us on the phones from Knoxville, Tennessee, of VolQuest and On 3, he is Brent Hubbs. Good morning, Brent. How are you?
Good morning, fellas. How we doing?
Good. We are good. It was great to see Grant Ramey's slow NFL film style clip of Tennessee football practice this week. Brent, when those clips are on my timeline, that is how I know football has returned.
Yes, we got that. And then we've got Ramon Foster's former NFL team with two prima donna quarterbacks fighting each other this
That's
week.
right.
So we got a good football thing. Ramon, what was your best fight?
My best
Ramon?
fight?
Were you a fighter or a lover? What were you doing?
Hubbs, you know me, man. I was trying to get in the scrum. I always had to prove myself, okay?
It's the West Tennessee in you.
My best college one was me and Andre Mathis, man. That was the year I got most improved, and I'll never forget, I was on a tear that summer. It was summer 07. And, man, I took him respectfully. He's probably not listening, so I'll tell the story. I took him in a one-on-one drill from where we were on the left side of the practice field all the way to the fence. And at that point, I was big dog, okay? There's that one. And the other one was Bud Dupree. He and I are great friends to this day, man. We really got into it in training camp, man. And it was he was young Bud trying to prove himself, and he was an outside linebacker. We had Joey Porter on the roster at that point in time as a coach, so you know he was feeding them gunpowder to sick us. So it was, Hubbs, I've had a lot of those skirmishes on the field, but here's the thing. I'm a dog about my teammates and my buddies to my left and to my right. If you're with me, then you never have to worry. So it was one of those situations. It was in the context of practice, though. It wasn't personal.
I got you. I was just curious. I didn't know if you got into it on the baseball field in Knoxville, or if you had. I didn't know what you had going on in one of those deals.
No, that freshman year of ours was kind of crazy. You remember that whole debacle we had with a couple of guys, but other than that, we ain't do that. By the way, I got my Twitter back. You can follow the other one back now too, Hubbs.
Okay, all right. I can't keep up, man. You're all the time all over Twitter.
You can't keep up. If you can figure out the harvest of your beans and your peppers and tomatoes, you can keep up with Twitter.
I love it. Now, Brent, we're just trying to keep him safe on the practice field at Titans practice now.
There you go. Don't get run over.
That's right. That's right.
Head on a swivel, Ramon. Head on a swivel.
If you're there, I'll just push you in front of me to protect myself.
There you go. There it is.
You see me, I ain't protecting nobody, buddy. I don't have a blind side. I have no side. What I got going on.
We got to get them squats going. All right, we got a show to do.
Brent Hubbs of VolQuest with us Fridays at 7:20. Brent, fall camp starting this week on Wednesday. Did anything surprise you, and what stood out to you as you watched this team hit the practice field?
Well, I mean, it's shorts, so football's meant to be played in pads,
That's
so you
right.
got to be cautious with everything. But when you look at this team physically, there's I've said it all summer long. There's grown men on the defensive line. I think Joshua Joseph is a guy at defensive end who's going to play opposite James Pierce in the Rabbit package, who was better than Pierce as a freshman in terms of production. He's a guy that you can tell. I think James Pierce's success has motivated him. Josh was more committed to the game. Physically, he looks better than he's ever looked. He's been in the weight room, nutrition, and all those things. He's put on good weight. He's more focused than he's been in the past. I think that's a guy that's going to be really interesting to watch when they put on pads and really get after it. And then this Jesse Perry kid, the freshman, he's not going to – I don't think he's going to play. He's going to be – I think there's a chance he could be in the two deep. They may even work him at center some for the possibility of being a center for the future. This guy's gone from about 275 pounds to about 305 pounds in about 7 months, and it looks good walking around. So I'm curious to see where he's at physically when they put on pads. He was much better in spring than anybody anticipated in terms of the work he had put in coming out of a single wing offense in high school where he didn't pass protect to survive in pass protection in spring practice, and the jump he made there rather quickly. So I'm curious to see what he looks like, not for immediate impact, but for a guy who's going to help in this program down the road. And then they looked apart at receivers. I mean, that's the thing. This team looks closer to what you expect SEC teams to look like. They're just more physical. They got more depth in a lot of places. So it's a good-looking football team running around in shorts and helmets.
Brent, what is Tennessee's best 3 wide receiver to start this process? I know there's a lot of talk about Chaz Nimrod. Obviously, Chris Brazzell, the Tulane transfer, has already raised some eyebrows with his catch Tennessee football posted the other day from Nico Iamaleava. But how fluid is that 3-man rotation right now?
Well, I think the question is, what's that rotation look like? How many bodies is that going to be? Nimrod's put on 20-something pounds, so he's a very different slot receiver than Squirrel White. And I get, where Chaz is at. Chaz looks as good as he's ever looked. I don't know that he's jumping past anybody at this point on the depth chart. We'll see what that – I mean, I don't pay attention with, what their rotation in practice looks like because it doesn't really matter. But Brew McCoy's going to be there. He's going to be on a pitch count, much to Brew's dismay. But he's going to be there. I like Brazzell. I really do. I think Chris is a guy who's proven he can be successful. He's done it at Tulane in a spread offense. He's kind of a big receiver who plays like a little wiggle guy, and he can play in tight spaces because he was an undersized guy coming out of high school who grew late. So he learned all his receiver stuff that he learned was as a small, shorter inside guy who's now bounced outside. So I think he knows how to run tight routes, and he's got a little more wiggle to him than most people think for a guy that's got his length. Dante Thornton looks terrific. We'll just see what kind of consistency he has when he gets out there. And then you've got Mike Matthews as well. So I think the bigger question is, are they going 4 deep, 5 deep, 6 deep? What's a rotation look like at the receiver position? Because they've not played that many before. Part of that, a good bit of that, has been out of necessity. They just haven't had the bodies to play. They've got them now, so what does Kelsey Pope do? How do they manage that in this fast-paced offense?
Brent Hubbs of VolQuest on 3 with us this morning, talking Vols. Hubbs, you have 2 young guys in your war room right up this week, man. And as Jordan Ross and Jeremiah's heard, man, Jordan Ross, by the way, I don't think a lot of people understand, 5-star, was the highest rated player in this past class. And you said they don't look like normal freshmen coming in and should expect something from those 2 guys, at least on the Jordan Ross side. What can you tell us about those 2 young men?
Well, I think Jordan, size, you can't teach it, right? He's 245 pounds now as a defensive end. He's only going to get bigger and stronger. I think he's got a good twitch about him. I think this is a guy that his stock rose his entire senior high school season to the point that he became a 5-star. I think he's got a good twitch about him. I think he's going to be a good player. Now, he's in a room where, and this is a luxury, he's in a place where you don't have to have him right now. Rodney will get him in the rotation because Rodney's going to play a lot of bodies. But you start looking at them at defensive end, you got Pierce, you got Joseph, you got Caleb Herring's out there at 250 pounds. You got Ross. Then on the other side, you got Tyree West. You got Tyree Weathersby, who's coming off the hip. You've got Dominique Bailey. You got a baker's dozen out there at defensive end. That didn't even count your defensive tackles. So, it's going to be hard to have a real big impact early for Jordan, but I think that he has such skill to work with and is driven. He's going to be fun to watch, throughout the season and see how he continues to grow and get better. Jeremiah Hurd is an athletic freak for a guy his size. He has got some light feet. He can move. Everything about him. He is a get off the bus, put him at the head of the line guy because he's an attention getter size-wise. Now, he played defensive line and he played tight end in high school. Now he's playing offensive tackle. All right, there's a bit of an adjustment there. So I don't know that he's going to do anything right out of the gate, but you look at him and you think tackle for the future, and then we'll see where they are with David Sanders as a potential tackle for the future. That position's got suddenly some more depth to it when you start talking about 25, 26, that type of thing beyond, which is also what you're looking at with that spot, considering, where they are with John Campbell, where they are, with Lance Hurd for, a couple of years from now and all those types of things. So Hurd's pretty. He's just really, really pretty. He is a classic guy that Philip Fulmer would have brought him in and let him practice defense one day and then said, hey, go over here and let's see what this looks like on the other side. Kick your foot back and step back and let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's pretty. Welcome to the offensive side of the ball, young man.
Ramon, I'm sure you never saw that ever happen to any players.
It never happened under Philip Fulmer's watch.
You don't do this to me and take me back to 2004, okay? Don't you dare.
I'm just saying, Philip Fulmer, defensive lineman, is like a wrestling coach going, hey, we don't cut weight in our program. That's not what we do. We just let you weigh whatever you want to weigh. Philip Fulmer's like, defensive line? Come over here and listen to it. Omari Thomas would be an offensive guard or tackle if Philip Fulmer were the head coach at Tennessee. He would have never stayed on defense, ever.
That's what I saw him do to Anthony Parker. I strategically saw him. Ant came in thinking he was going to play and went to the D-line room. I remember he was in there talking about T-Mac, Tony McDaniels, and all of those guys, man. And the next day, he was with us on the O-line with number 75 on.
Yeah, he went to the photo shoot, and they handed him a 75 jersey. He's like, what just happened? Yeah, you just got Fulmer. That's what just happened.
Hey, Hubs, you know I didn't want to play O-line. I showed up to UT, and they handed me 78. I said, oh.
Yeah,
I guess I'm going to the O.
I didn't even get to go to the meeting to introduce myself to the other side. Okay, you go straight to O-line. Don't pass go. Don't collect no $200.
But you know what it is? It's almost like Shakira with making that decision. The hips don't lie. Usually, if your hips are a little bit on the stiffer side, you go over there with the big boys that were 50 to 70.
Ramon, you're in Shakira's hips. I'm not sure that comparison should ever be mentioned again.
That is the first time Shakira and Ramon Foster have ever been compared and should ever be compared.
Entertainers, we can throw that one in there too. But either way, man, Hubs, we have to figure out, because Nico is a guy that a lot of folks are going to want to talk about too. But real quick before we get to this recruiting, man, what are they going to do with that left guard position, and what do we look like as far as depth at center and starter potentially at left guard?
Well, depth at center is I mean, right now, if they were playing today, it's probably Dane Davis because he knows all the calls. I think the question at center becomes, what can you find this camp and this fall? Because it's not only trying to find depth at center for sometime this season, but you got to think about next year. Because you cannot, I don't think you can go to the portal in January and find a center in another offense and bring him in and have him up to speed, ready to go. You need somebody who understands this offense inside and out, and you need time to do that. So they really got to find that center position now. It's Dane Davis on the short end, but he's a senior. So now we're talking about maybe Jesse Perry, William Satterwhite. I think those two guys are real candidates at center. Bison Lang's still snapping, so we'll see what that looks like, although he's not been able to really run with that job since he's been there. Left guard is got more depth, more bodies to work with there. It can be Andre Carrick, who's had a good summer. He's healthy. Certainly Jackson Lampley is in the hunt there and should be in the hunt. He plays best football at the end of the year. I think he's a viable candidate to be a starter there. You've got Vlad Umarov is a young guy who is working there. He's probably a little bit behind those other two, but he's certainly capable of playing, I think. Just needs experience. So, you start there with those guys. And, again, Davis is a swing guy. He could play in there at guard if you needed him to play at guard. He can also play any other tackle position. He can really play all five positions. So he's going to be kind of your number 6 guy on the offensive line, I think, when the season gets off and running. And then we'll see. I'm okay with him at left guard. I think they'll be fine there. I think schematically they'll be fine there with what they do in the run game. I think you can mix and match and make that work. And I think Nico's legs will be much better in terms of escaping pressure this season than it was in the bowl game. I think that's one of the things he really learned in the bowl game is clocking ahead, stay out, get out of the way. He's not going to get sacked 6 times in games this fall, I don't believe.
VolQuest's Brent Hubbs with us this morning here on Ramon, Kalen, Will, joining us every Friday here on the show. Brent, we have had a big prospect to potentially commit to Tennessee, I feel like every weekend for the last 4 weekends. And this week, it's On3's number 1 quarterback in the class of 2026 in the country. In Greensboro, North Carolina's Faison Brandon. What is his skill set? What does Tennessee like the most about him, and where are they at in his recruitment?
Well, I think they're in a great spot with his recruitment. Tennessee, Alabama, he was in Knoxville last weekend. I think his family really likes Knoxville. Great family, by the way. But mom and dad are terrific people. I think they're very comfortable in Knoxville. I think he's very comfortable in Knoxville. what's his skill set. I think he's very accurate with the football. I think he's accurate with the football off platform. He's got a great frame to work with. I think he can be a running guy if you want him to be, and can take advantage of that skill set. But I think he's got a good, strong arm, and I really like his game. I really liked him. And watching him at camp 2 years ago when he got the offer, he was, hadn't filled out physically, but you saw it and went, man, that guy looks good. I mean, he's got a lot of good things about his game. And then he came back for camp this summer, and you're like, oh, he took a major step this past off season, physically and just his arm strength and physically and just how he looks and filled out. I think there's a reason why he's one of the top quarterbacks in the country, or the top quarterback in the country in the class of 26. I think he'd be a nice fit in Tennessee's offense.
And Brent, it seems like we're talking about a lot of prospects who have been recruited by Josh Heupel since they were freshmen or sophomores in high school. And you hear a lot of these guys talking about the relationships he's built. Is that one of the biggest reasons, in your opinion, why Tennessee is on fire the way that they are? Now, we talked about the Alabama win in 2022 obviously being a major benefit, but I feel like I'm reading a lot when you guys talk to these commits that, yeah, Josh Heupel was the first one to offer and to really invest in a lot of them.
Well, I think that Josh Heupel's recruiting team, and I don't mean coaches, I mean the people in the back room, the evaluators, all of those people in the back probably don't get enough credit for what they do in terms of trying to be out in front and be early with some offers. And I think they do a nice job of getting Tennessee, to the point of having getting the tape in front of the coaches that they need to see, culling stuff out, making it easier for the assistant coaches to do the evaluations, which helps you speed things up a little bit. Here's the other thing, too. We talk about NIL a lot, right? NIL. At some point, when the money's pretty even, it comes down to where you're most comfortable. So you got to go recruit them. I think Oregon is learning this, right? Oregon just kind of had the thought process of, we'll just go buy us a class. And they've lost 3 or 4 commits in the last 2 weeks because they don't really want to work in live in Eugene. And I don't think they've got the coaches have the relationships with those players that other schools have. I think they've just said, well, we'll NIL it. You can't just NIL it because everybody's got NIL funds now, okay? I mean, at the Power 5 level, everybody's got a plan for NIL. So at some point it comes back to old school recruiting and your relationships, and you've got to work at it. And I think a guy like Alec Ablin has had a year to recruit and a year to get to know guys, and I think you're seeing the fruits of his labor at the tight end position. Josh Heupel has established himself here. Quarterbacks know what this thing is about. They know it's successful. And Josh Heupel can not cherry pick and get, just whoever he wants, but he makes an early decision on who they want, like George, right? There was other quarterbacks in the class, and a lot of people were looking, is Tennessee going to go here, going to go there? Josh Heupel made an early decision. We want George. George is our guy, point blank. That's where we're going. All of our efforts are going into George McIntyre. And they got him. They didn't try to dance for 2 or 3 quarterbacks. They focused on where they were going, and they got it done. And I think they're trying to do the same in the class of 26. And I think they have to recruit quarterbacks, and you've got to put that effort into the relationships.
At 6'7", 340 right now, 360, Juan Gaston. Where are you at on his projection as far as commitment between the Vols and Georgia right now? That seems like a Georgia guy with these 6'11" guys that they've taken as of late, man.
It does. Everything about that one has felt like Georgia to me. Georgia seems to be the one that makes the most sense. Now, Georgia's pretty deep, at offensive guard and in this class. He's got Oregon on his list. He's got Tennessee on his list. This is one that's really, really hard to read because, one, does not like to talk, takes a little pride in not talking to anybody and keeping people guessing. He's going to do something tonight or later today. He's not going to tell any of the schools of his decision. They're going to learn it at the press conference. And I don't think he's going to take any questions at his deal. I think he's going to probably get up, put a hat on, and walk off the stage. And then adios, he's out. And that's his style and how he goes about it. I mean, some people have interviewed his mom, and his mom's talked about what they like at every school. And he's really close to his mom, but she's not making a decision. And he doesn't care if she's speaking for him because I don't know that she knows where he's going to go to school. So we'll see. Georgia makes the most sense. He's close to his mom. I don't think he's going to go across the country, in my opinion. Tennessee's probably in it better than anybody covering Georgia thinks. But I still think at the end of the day, it's probably an upset if he doesn't go to Georgia. I think most people feel like that one's just kind of been Georgia, and it just seems to make sense that it's Georgia. But that's everybody's guess because Juan's not telling anybody anything.
VolQuest's Brent Hubbs joins us Fridays at 7:20 here on the show at Brent_Hubbs, where you follow his work covering Tennessee football on Twitter and all things Tennessee athletics. Brent, thank you as always, sir. Good stuff.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too.
See you, bud.
Thank you. There's Brent Hubbs with us here this morning on the show. Good stuff.
That was Phil Knight's gonna be upset because he said you just can't use NIL to recruit. Like that right there was uber fascinating to me, man. In this day of age where everybody got a bag.
Do you know who's over your shoulder this entire interview?
I saw him. I did. It's Dave Clawson. I know exactly what Bert's doing. He got too much power behind the glass. Ate too much. Ate too much power, Bert.
Oh, my goodness.
What is this?
Coming up next, Simone Biles is the GOAT. Enough said. We'll talk about it next. It's RKW, Ramon, Kayla, Will on 104.5 The Zone, 615-737-1045. How you hop in? Football was played last night. That's a thing that happened. We'll get to that coming up in 10 minutes, plus the DeAndre Hopkins news from yesterday. I've got a crazy stat on Simone Biles. Gold medal again yesterday in the women's all-around gymnastics. Suni Lee clutched her floor routine to get bronze.
That was awesome, by the way.
Very cool. So Simone Biles has not lost an all-around competition through the entire gap in time between NCAA College Football 14 and EA College Football 25.
Are you serious?
The last time Simone Biles lost an all-around competition, the NCAA 14 video game was just coming out. July 9th, 2013, all the way to July 19th, 2024.
She's good.
When College Football 25 came.
If you watch her do her routine, you as somebody that admires sports in general, any sports, like I can watch hockey and admire somebody being good, like,
Sure.
oh, that's really good. I can watch WWE wrestling and take appreciation for that entertainment, right? Watching her do her routine and how she goes about it and the difficulty of hers compared to other girls, it's not even close, man. Like, she wore that goat chain. I think a lot of people self-diagnose themselves as goats. Will Bowling, Robert Walsh, listeners, that lady is a goat.
Yeah, it works for her.
It works for her.
It absolutely works for her.
It does, man. And shout out to her, Suni Lee, the young lady from Brazil. Golly,
Andrade. Rebecca Andrade.
Who, by the way, her story is insane, too. She's torn her ACL 3 of the last 4 years and gotten back to win silver for this Olympics. I don't think you guys understand what an ACL rehab is like.
It's crazy.
And for her to be tumbling and jumping and doing the stuff that she's doing, man, a major kudos to her. I think she's 24 right now, or 25 right now. She'll be 29 the next time. The thing is, she's running to her Tom Brady. She's running to her Michael Jordan. Yeah. She's running to the phenom that's in her generation, because if it wasn't for Simone Biles, we'd be talking about her right now. She's that good also.
Have you guys seen about the Gold Over America tour?
No.
So this is any of the Olympians that won gold, I believe, specifically gymnastics. So Simone Biles, anyone on the team, they are going around the country after the Olympics to show their floor routines, and you can buy tickets and go watch them. How much do you think tickets are to go see Simone Biles?
Simone Biles, I'm going to say $245 a ticket.
That's your max?
Yeah.
The most expensive ticket or the cheapest ticket?
The most expensive ticket that I can find currently.
$2,000?
$175, ranging from $35 to $175. Unfortunately, they don't come to Nashville. The closest to here that you would be able to see them, I believe, is Cincinnati.
That's not a bad drive.
Or Cleveland.
I mean, it's not a bad drive. Terrible city. Not a bad drive.
Two bad places I don't want to go.
Yeah. You need to get on that if you can go see her.
They're in Charlotte as well, if you'd rather go to Charlotte.
Man, Charlotte's a nice place.
It's better.
I'll go there. Yeah, for sure. Would you go see it, Bert?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just for the experience, one, but to see that stuff up close, like, I don't think anybody understands how high they're jumping, how many roads, like, it looks, it's like, just like you mentioned pro wrestling before. Pro wrestling looks great on TV, but when you go watch it and actually see what they're doing, it adds a whole nother element to it.
It does. Yeah. It does.
Interesting.
Congrats to her and the gymnastics team, man. I think they said China's bringing their best squad they've ever had in their entire life to the Olympics this year for the men's. Simone Biles got more medals than all of them combined. Like, one person has more medals and accomplishment as an entire country. GOAT.
It was dramatic all the way to the end. It was fun. Danny in the Borough asks on YouTube, anyone else completely over the Olympics? Absolutely not.
Not even close.
Track and field just started this morning, so
I'm saying
the good stuff is here.
Danny, I rock with you, but that ain't a comment you want to be saying out loud, sir.
U.S. men's soccer, Walker Zimmerman, Nashville SC, taking the field in 5 minutes as well against Morocco. It'll be above Ramon Foster's head.
What is behind me now?
Still Dave Clawson, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I'll get something good up there. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I'm about to need this TV to watch U.S. soccer, so y'all better chill.
I can pull it up. That's cool.
It's up right now.
Got a phenomenal
you ready
picture for you.
But the track and field, Sha'Carri made the semifinal earlier this morning. Ran well. I think 10:92.
That's what I was going to say. You said she breezed through that one.
Yeah, round one, you just get you a big cue and keep on moving.
I'm just glad she turned into a pro into how she go about her process. The talent was there.
Has been for a long time.
Has been.
615-737-1045. Y'all prepare to be sick of my track updates. Hopefully you're not going to be sick of
No,
them.
I'm into this.
This is the one area where I really can be an expert and talk about it. Coming up, hour number 3 of the show. In the second half, we begin with football being played last night. DeAndre Hopkins being out for a couple of weeks. Football. We'll talk about it next.
What's going on? Good morning. Happy Friday from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Hall of Fame game last night had a little bit of firepower. Unfortunate inclement weather ended the game early, sending the Bears back to Chicago with a 21-17 victory over the Texans. Brett Rippon threw 3 touchdowns, but the most interesting aspect of the game had to be the new kickoff system. None of the 8 kickoffs returned beyond the 32. 3 were brought back to the 26, just a yard further than the old touchback, and there was one touchback that came out to the 30. Tennessee Titans star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins will miss the next 4 to 6 weeks with a knee strain. This timeline puts him in line to potentially be back in the lineup for the season opener. Chargers also dealing with an injury to a star player, quarterback Justin Herbert, diagnosed with a plantar fasciae injury to his right foot after Wednesday's practice. It's going to put him in a walking boot for 2 weeks. After time in the boot, Herbert will be on a, quote, gradual return to play protocol and is expected to be ready for week 1. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show and hour number 3 starts right now on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. RKW 104.5 The Zone. 615-737-1045. If you've got a Titans question for us, we talk Titans with you coming up in 20 minutes. Stock up and stock down. A weekly feature during training camp. Who is trending in the right direction? Who might be trending in a negative direction? We stream live at 104.5 The Zone TV. You can head in a positive direction anytime you join the F&M Bank chat on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch, and by going to your favorite podcast feed, searching for Ramon, Kayla, and Will, and hitting the subscribe button every morning at 10 a.m. You should also go to the 3HL podcast page and listen to Jim Nance yesterday on 3HL. 1 hour of awesome storytelling and great radio. Enjoyed it thoroughly.
Did you guys know he wore my headset?
I did.
Gave them a very good sniff when we came in. His hair smells incredible.
Oh, my gosh.
Now I'm having to wear them, and it's going to inevitably rub the smell off, but very happy.
What does this smell like? Papaya and like strawberries?
Let me see if I can get another dip.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, smells like hello, friends.
He dropped a few of his famous lines yesterday for 3HL, man. A tradition like none other. It was a
tradition
cool,
unlike any other. Get it right, please.
That's why I'm not a journalist.
Thank you so much.
Thing. Call me sports entertainer in this, okay? But with that being said, shout out to 3HL for facilitating that, man. It was awesome. A cool moment right there.
Very cool.
You got a quick opportunity also, Will.
Yeah.
You can't leave that out.
I did. Got a chance to say hello. Was very cool. Very nice guy.
Yeah. By the way, Twitch, please. Since I want Vandy Man, we can't let that go. Absolutely. Twitch, please.
There you go. 615-737-1045 is how you join us. DeAndre Hopkins going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. Story first reported yesterday by Paul Koharski. Last season led the team 75 catches, 1,057 yards, and 7 touchdown catches. Strained knee that was suffered at Wednesday's Titans training camp practice. 4 to 6 weeks. Ramon Foster, your concern level is where?
About a 4. About a 4 because we hadn't seen D-Hop be injured here. He was good all last year, man. But this is where it becomes the first case study for teams signing older wide receivers. And 1 year not being like the other two. We've seen guys have all Pro Bowl seasons. And I'm not speaking about D-Hop. I'm just saying in general. And the next year they don't. So I'm very fascinated to see what his Ironman level is going to be like bouncing back from this injury. It's not like it's a crazy tendon or anything like that, something that he has to go get a scope for or anything. This to me is rest, rehab, and getting back to zero as it pertains to his pain level And also his ability to get off the line of scrimmage, too. Now, the thing is, the knee can be tricky as it pertains to the force that he uses to break, leave his routes, run down the field, slow down, jump. He got enough time, though. The reason it's a 4 for me, because we got about 4 weeks to get him back. I, again, will say, when it comes down to judging guys' rehab, the Titans are going to pour everything into him. He will pour everything into himself also. And the best part about it, Will, is what we didn't have a year ago is we at least have some depth, albeit, unproven. Some of the young guys, Treylon Burks being in this position with a new quarterback. I don't know if he had much time with Will Levis. Yeah, he had a little bit of time last year with Will Levis. But you got other bodies here. My thing is this. Last year, figuring out who's going to be the primary wide receiver, it turned into D-Hop. Right, we were trying to figure out if NWI was going to step up, if Treylon was going to step up. Yeah. You go out and sign a guy like Calvin Ridley. For what it's worth, this front office has teamed up to find competitive athletes for this team moving forward. And it started with Calvin Ridley, man, stealing him from the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm not overly concerned. 4 out of 10 is where I put my concern level.
As you get later in your career, how much did little things like this happen to you? And how much was this an issue of doing normal things at practice are now causing you more pain, causing you just more complications through that process?
Man, the body is crazy. You adjust even in the moment to these type of ailments or strains and stuff like that. It's not a big deal. It comes down to pain tolerance, will, and want to in these types of situations. Like, you will adjust. And the thing is this. As long as you communicate with your coaches, all they care about is that one day during the week where you have to actually really do your job, and that's game day. To me, this is where D-Hop practice schedule may get a little bit more tweaked over the course of the season if this does linger on. That is the thing about it. If it's around his knee, if it was correctly reported, then the issue is, okay, if he gets hit or if he, take a phantom step somewhere, does it re-aggravates it? But, again, having the ability to get back as healthy as he possibly can over these next few weeks is the best thing going for him. You adjust in the moment. And then on game day, too, here's the dark secret about playing in professional leagues, I think all across the board. The Toradol, right? I'm going to do whatever it takes to play on game day. We've heard guys being in that mode, and a lot of guys use holistic treatments, too, to where it's not all of the Toradol that you have to take. I, myself, was a guy that didn't want to take those types of things, but they've gotten much better in the process of giving out those meds. It used to be a shot where, hey, like, it was weird in the locker room. I won't say it was weird, but the culture of an NFL locker room is this. On game day, I'm out there. Yeah. Whatever it takes. And it was somewhat of a joke, Will. And it's something like, I think when regular people look at what guys do on game day, they may say, okay, you guys are some sickos. But the dudes that had ailments like a knee or a rib, like they be telling Doc, all right, Doc, let's go. Give me my shot. I got to go, And what the studies behind that is that kills your kidneys, those shots. Now they administer the pills that have a release point, right? The delayed releases on having guys feel numb on game day. As long as D-Hop may consider some type of assistance on game day, I expect him to be out there for the most part. But here's the thing, too. Early in the season, how important is it to have him out there if I need him on the back end of this thing?
And that was my next question about this is how aggressive do the Titans need to be about him playing week 1 against Chicago?
They don't have to be super aggressive.
Really?
NFC game. NFC. Now, again, we'll start speaking about overall win quality. That could come back and bite you in the butt. But my thing is this. His biggest competition this year is dominating these AFC teams. We used to always say that after a loss, and of course, that's seeking comfort by saying that. It's like, well, we lost to Green Bay. Well, at least it was an NFC game. My thing is this. Yes, you do want a really good impression as far as starting the season off 1-0. But if you go into Chicago as rabid as that fan base is going to be because they got all these new pieces there and a new everything, I'd much rather have D-Hop and his tip-top conditioning for the home opener here against the New York Jets, which is an AFC game, who has a quarterback that's proven, right? That is in front of your home crowd. If this team goes 0-1 in Chicago, I ain't got a big I'm not going to make a big ordeal over the idea that D-Hop may not be out there, because if that September 15th game, I'd much rather have him there.
Does this have a bigger impact on Treylon Burks getting a bigger opportunity? Or does this mean more for Calvin Ridley being the number one guy for the foreseeable future?
I'm throwing it on Will Levis. How does he manage adjusting in this moment right here? And I think the one that needs to take the make the most of this opportunity is Treylon, but that also relies upon Will Levis be able to deliver and give him the ball the way he needs to.
Sure.
And remember, I've said this a few times. The one thing that he has to be able to do as a young quarterback is to be able to designate, you are my guy. I can come to you at any point in time, and the rest of y'all got to wait on who's after Calvin Ridley or Tyler Boyd. I don't think people talk enough about how a young quarterback has to designate who's this guy. We saw it last year with C.J. Stroud.
Mm-hmm.
Who in the hell is Nico Collins? Respectfully. Nico Collins now is a household name because C.J. Stroud decided, I'm going to this guy. He's my clutch dude. And we saw him continually make plays. And I don't say that in a disrespectful way, like who in the hell is Nico Collins? What I'm saying is this. C.J. Stroud found a guy that worked for him, and everybody else ate after the fact.
It's a third-round pick.
Yes, sir. And that's a high accomplishment, and he got paid and everything. Yeah, but what I'm saying is having a young rookie be able to designate, or a young quarterback in general, you are my guy. I think that's why Zach Taylor, not Zach Taylor from the Jets, the failed second overall pick, Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson wasn't able to establish himself well enough. I think if you look at Mac Brown's situation in New England, although they didn't have a lot of Mac Jones, they didn't have a Mike Jones.
Even though I do love the image of Mac Brown playing quarterback of the Patriots.
What I'm saying is this, him not having the ability to find his guy. They went and signed Juju Smith-Schuster for him, and he was never able to get Juju Smith-Schuster to be the dude. Not that that's a crazy thing, but we're watching also Jalen Hurts figure out how to make things work for Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. You see what I'm saying? And Will Levis hadn't been put in that spot yet.
And the reason why Nico Collins even got the opportunity to be a guy is partly because John Mechie wasn't available, and then partly because Tank Dell,
that's true,
the rookie out of Houston, wasn't available last year. He had more opportunities because of injuries. Is there that guy? Is there a Nico Collins on this Titans roster? I mean, he went from a 481-yard season in 2022 to 1,297 yards last year.
See what I'm saying?
That is what the dream scenario is for Treylon Burks. Go from being a 500-yard wide receiver to be a 1,300-yard wide receiver?
If that ain't the biggest challenge or the pat on the back for a guy like Will Levis, if he's capable of doing that, that's why I say I think it's more on Will Levis than it is on Treylon or Calvin Ridley at this point, because at the end of the day, the companionship that they have as getting the ball, it starts with Will Levis.
Stock up or stock down? Coming up, who has helped or hurt themselves in the last week of Tennessee Titans training camp? We'll give you our answers next. Friday morning, Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW 1045 The Zone. Kayla with the morning off. Myself, Will Bowling, Ramon Foster, 615-737-1045. It's streaming live at 1045 The Zone TV. I am locked in on U.S. men's soccer against Morocco.
I was about to tell you before we came back, I admire your, Will is like red eye about this thing right now.
I know a lot of these U.S. U23 players because most of them are MLS guys, including Nashville Soccer Club's captain, Walker Zimmerman, who partners with Miles Robinson at the back, FC Cincinnati center back in this game. But it's a big one. I think the U.S. can win a medal if they win this game against Morocco, who has, I think, the best player in the whole tournament in Ashraf Hakimi.
Yeah.
But anyway, lively start. Been fun. It's on USA Network if you want to hop over there, but keep us on your radio.
It's on USA Network. Okay.
It is. It is. Maybe not. I guess it's not on the NBC level. Or maybe, no, they don't even do live coverage, I think, until like noon.
Okay.
So they've still got Today's Show and all those things.
Yeah. Okay.
But between this and track and field totally starting today, big day in the bowling household. Of course, household of one, but still. Big day in my household, glued to the TV. Stock up and stock down, Ramon Foster. Who has helped or hurt themselves over the last week? This is a Friday installment of training camp that we will continue to do in updating you who is trending up and who is trending down. And again, you can make your own assumptions on whether or not this matters, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just because we say that someone has not had a good week does not mean they are not going to make the team. It doesn't mean that we're being overly negative about them. Doesn't mean that we think they are not going to have a good season. Just giving you the updates of who is trending up and who is trending down in practice. And these things do tend to change week to week, don't they?
They do tend to change week to week, which is why instant evaluation, which Coach Mack always warns us about, don't keep your powder. I guess keep your powder dry is
That's
what
right.
he's always going to say. But a guy in particular, I said from the beginning, I loved the way he started the first week and went about his day and became better over this offseason was John Ojukwu. I would actually say this week a little bit of a stock down. Now, here's the full context of it, too. Going up against Harold Landry for a second-year guy probably is not the best, most ideal thing. But here's the thing about it. If he does become the starter, that's what he's going to say, play in and play out. John Ojukwu's got to get a little bit more, I guess, awareness and oomph to finishing plays and understanding the rush that he's seeing from guys like that, specifically in a run. I would say he would be a stock down guy for me this week, considering where he started off last week. That's just one of those guys, Will. Another one may be Julius Chestnut.
Interesting.
Yes, stock down for me. And I know a lot of people are high on him. I've seen the high praises from Julius Chestnut. But here's the thing. We're talking about a battle for the number 3 running back position, and he's been a guy that's in a battle with Hassan Haskins. Hassan Haskins, although he's not a draft pick of this current staff, he's a third rounder, if I'm not mistaken. Julius Chestnut is a undrafted guy. Julius Chestnut has put the ball on the ground. And for a guy like him, that's unacceptable. And then I'll throw another one in that conversation, too, although he's having a solid one. But I'll throw Chig and a stock down, too, just on the basis of him and Wally, I think, are having a good battle in training camp also. And he, on Wednesday, put a football on the ground, and that was reported, too. So I'm nitpicking on how I'm selecting these guys, but these are guys that have crucial spots and battles for this Tennessee Titans camp that they can't afford to have for the skill guys. Having footballs on the ground is not okay when the coaches got to figure out, like, we're splitting hairs with these types of dudes.
Sure.
And putting the ball on the ground is something that coaches see you do it and they lose trust in you.
Do you think Hassan Haskins is someone who could stick as kick returner in the new format? Does his skill set fit the skill set you believe will be valuable as a kick returner?
Does, because I know he has the speed. He did it in college, if I'm not mistaken. He's familiar with it. And then here's the other side of it, too. The way they're setting up this kick return is almost as if it's an O-line versus D-line setup.
Because right now, Jim Wyatt wrote about this and confirms that the first combination at kick returner for the Titans the other day was Tajay Spears, Treylon Burks. And then you had Kyle Phillips, Mason Kinsey, Jaquan Jackson, Jabari Small, Kyrus Jackson, and Sam Schnee. Then Trayshawn Harrison and Eric Gare. I think, though, that even though Hassan Haskins is not working there now, I think that staffs are going to learn a ton about the new kickoff the second they do it in a live setting for the first time. So I think there's an argument to be made that the early combinations of who they try on a Wednesday practice at the end of July is very early days in a process that I think is going to take months to figure out. I think teams are going to get into week 1, 2, and 3 and then maybe even change the way they're going to do the kickoff. Because as they watch film other places, this is a copycat league. And I think many of you may be bored of hearing about the new kickoff. I think it's a big deal. I think it's a very big deal because that is now essentially just an extra offensive play that you get about, 5 times a game, 4 times a game on average? Mm-hmm. Haskins is an interesting one because I do think that he has got a bit of an extra spark with the ball in his hands.
He does.
That Julius Chestnut does not have. In that when he has the football, you lean forward in your chair a little bit because the explosiveness he has with the football in his hands stands out. And he's a big guy. I mean, Hassan Haskins is not a little human being.
No.
So stock up, Ramon. Who has helped themselves?
I got a long list of folks. Not a long list of folks, but a solid one, I'd say, Will. I'm add one more to this one, too. I'll start with this one I just added. Josh Wiley, stock up. Peter Scoronski, although a first-rounder.
So for me, let's pause there for a minute. No one's stock is higher. No one's stock has risen more this week for me than Peter Scoronski. Because he went toe-to-toe with Jeffrey Simmons when pads came on. Not only did he hold his own, he won those reps. Mm-hmm. In one-on-ones, we have watched Peter Scoronski beat Jeffrey Simmons. In team periods, we watched Jeffrey Simmons get a little hot and get a little frustrated because of how well Peter Scoronski was playing against him. Is that fair to say that over the last week, no one has helped themselves more than Peter?
Nobody. I got another guy on that list, but as it pertains to who's won, Peter Scoronski. He came in, looks better, moves better, seems like he's got a better understanding. And in those reps that he had with Jeffrey Simmons, the battle was good. The battle was good. Jeffrey got pressure, but here's what you saw from a guy like Peter Scoronski, who is learning guard. And this is, to me, why the biggest offseason signing may have been Bill Callahan, because he's learning how to change positions and play a spot that he's never really played like this before. Like in that bull rush that Jeffrey Simmons was giving him, I saw him hop, 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 stop. He stopped the pressure and bull rush of Jeffrey Simmons. And that in itself right there is where your quarterback can live and thrive, because I know at the end of the day, if Peter Scoronski can stop grudgingly the bull rush of a guy like Jeffrey Simmons, he can hold his weight against anybody else, man. And I appreciate and love that about Will. To me, stock up being him, it's shown. It has. Like, that was a real live game rep that he was getting from a guy like Jeffrey Simmons. And if you know a line like that, then you can understand, even though Jeffrey Simmons did push him back a good bit in a game-like setting, like that's an A-plus play for a dude like him. I simply did my job. Both his elbows was vertical as far as holding them, like hands inside the breastplate on his shoulder pads, and it was all technique. And he needed that for his development sense. So Peter Scoronski is top of the mountaintop when it comes down to stock up for you also, Will?
I think Peter Scoronski is number one on the list.
Yeah.
Of people who have helped themselves the most. I would say second is Malik Willis.
Must say. And I just got a text from my guy. I got him on his list, TD, okay? TD, I got this guy on my list.
I think it's Peter Scoronski and Malik Willis are the two guys for me who over the last week have helped themselves the most. And coming into camp, I'll be honest, Ramon, when Brian Callahan said there was a legitimate competition for who the second quarterback was going to be between Mason Rudolph and Malik Willis, I laughed. I thought that was a completely ridiculous statement. And it's, of course, you're going to motivate your guy, and you're going to, I think there's a legitimate battle for second quarterback that's happening.
No, I wouldn't go that far.
Why not?
I wouldn't go that far because Mason's ability to show that he can do it in a under the lights in the stadium, I think it's more proven than what Malik has. And the thing is, where Malik has come from and going to, Mason is already there. You see what I'm saying? Like, Mason is there, and I think I'll say this. I feel this staff is settled with knowing that they got a guy in Mason that can handle the workload more than Malik.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
But the ability of Malik Willis to do some difficult things well, to throw from different arm slots, to move out of the pocket and throw on the run, to be decisive, which we've not seen him do. When I say there's a legitimate battle going on, it simply means, obviously, yes, Mason Rudolph was brought here to be the second quarterback. There's no doubt. But I think there is a little bit of a result that could happen out of the preseason game next weekend that affects the way those reps are divvied out moving forward. That's what I mean when I say there's a little bit of a battle going on here. Because if Malik Willis outplays Mason Rudolph against the San Francisco 49ers on August the 10th, I think he will get more reps with the 2s versus the 3s. And you will get an extended look to say, all right, well, hold on a minute here. What do we have going on here?
But that also is just giving the opportunity to a guy to see how much he can handle and still stay. Like, that may, to me, be a position, Will, where you say he might get more 2 reps just to prove that he deserves to be on the roster even more. That's my thing. I still think the pecking order is still going to be Levis, Rudolph, and Willis, no matter what, this offseason.
So there is, in your opinion, nothing Malik Willis can do to be quarterback 2 this offseason?
For what I think this offense is going to ask, no, not this year. I'm okay to be wrong, though.
So, again, let's ask the question, because we had the conversation earlier this week that if Malik Willis plays well in camp, do you keep him or do you try to get him for something? You get something for him. And all 3 of us said, as much as quarterbacks have gotten hurt here over the past couple of years, you keep him and have a third quarterback. But if he plays great now, like if this really continues and Malik Willis outplays Mason Rudolph, and we're sitting here at the end of preseason having the conversation of like, Malik Willis might be kind of good at quarterback a little bit and might be worth something. Are you still keeping him no matter what as a third quarterback?
I think you keep him as a third quarterback. And here's the other thing, too. You got to also look at the level of players out there that Malik will be going against if he does outplays them, too. You know what I'm saying? Like with both of them. My thing is this.
That's fair, too.
Preseason can give you false narratives about how good or bad your season. I saw a guy in Kenny Pickett go out there and crush it. And I thought he was going to be a top 5 quarterback in the league for a young guy. And he turned out to be a dud. He went back to doing the same things because teams are very vanilla in the preseason. And we'd always tell young guys, now the season is real. Now you're going to get everybody's best shot when the season kicks off. It's the same way we talk about regular season versus postseason. It's a little bit tighter and a little bit more detailed. So, which is why I say I still think, in my opinion, that Malik stays at a 3 more than a 2 because he hasn't seen these live reps over an extended part of time that make you believe that he can do it. One thing that Mason has going for him is at the end of this last year with the opportunity he was given in Pittsburgh, he proved that he can go on the road and win.
Yeah.
He proved that he can help sustain an offense. And that's where the belief in his ability as a 2 sticks for me.
So the question I have about Malik Willis is, how do you fare when you know you're going to get hit?
Oh,
Because right now in training camp, he could get swarmed by 4 guys in the pocket and no one's going to touch you. So, again, we've talked a lot about the fact that there are many plays that happen in training camp that would never be allowed to conclude within a live game setting because you can beat the tackle immediately, but you still can't touch the quarterback. And there are a lot of plays where an edge rusher's probably sacking the QB, but that's not given as a sack unless it's totally obvious in training camp, so as to let the play continue and let everyone still get their work in. Is Malik Willis still as comfortable as we're seeing him in camp when he gets into a live game setting? I think preseason games are critical for him, more so than these training camp practices are, for that reason.
They are, because he stayed in the pocket.
He has stayed in the pocket. He's looked really good.
He has.
Again, against 3s, but still, Malik Willis has. It's starting to become a trend. His positive play at this point.
100%. I'm with you on that one. But to your point about it being live, all right, somebody grab him. Will he spin out and cause a bad play to be a worse play? You know what I'm saying? So that's what we don't know yet because he is protected.
You've got somebody on YouTube already saying your bias is kicking in against Malik Willis.
That's going to be the case with anybody that I play with or have a relationship with. I understand this to be the case right here.
You bring in when you bring in a backup quarterback with starting experience, you're not bringing that guy in to be the third quarterback.
Yeah, but the person who said that about that, like, you tell me how your knowledge of what I've seen is just a little bit different than mine is all I'll ask you.
Yeah, you're the one at practice.
Yeah. So that's that on that.
Because Mace Rudolph's also been good, to be fair.
And that's the other part that we're talking about.
Right.
Like, he's also been good.
Yeah,
and has been acknowledged by Jimmy White and his observations.
100%.
And mostly every reporter in this area has said the same thing about it. Like, Malik has gotten better. But Mason is still doing his thing.
Who else you got?
That's always going to be the case. The rest on my list, my guy TD, Teron Davenport, Kenneth Murray.
100%. That was the next name on my list as well.
Kenneth Murray. Even, again, and hearing Denard Wilson say yesterday, no, I want to green light go him. That's what he's been doing.
He's been excellent.
By the way, nobody's really speaking about this. The battle between him and Josh Wiley is hot.
It is hot.
It is hot.
I like it a lot.
I love it because they're edgy.
It's good for both of them.
And they're not crossing the line.
100%.
Gabe Judy Lally.
Stock up.
Yep. I even got J.C. Latham because watching him at his size kick at left tackle, he's made a tweak to his stance too. Just slightly, he's moved that left leg back. But he's another guy that's on there. And here's another one that I have also. It's most obvious. It's T'Vondre Sweat for this reason. I saw him in practice. I think they were doing third down and they were driving up and down the field. I think it was unscripted maybe.
Sure.
5, 6, 7 plays in a row, he was out there and stayed.
And the thing I like about T'Vondre, Brian Callahan and Denard Wilson have talked about this. The way they want him to condition himself is by running to the ball carrier to finish the play. And that might not be something you're used to seeing from a 350-pound defensive tackle who is running 10 yards into the secondary after the running back gets past the first level. But he's consistently doing that.
Yeah.
T'Vondre Sweat is finishing the play with whoever has the ball, and he has done everything that's been asked of him.
He has.
At camp so far.
And that was the biggest thing for me was watching him stay on the field. Jeffrey Simmons came out. T'Vondre Sweat stayed in. And it was like a 4 to 7 play series that he stayed out there. So that's why I'm saying he's stock up guy for me also. But that's my list of dudes. Jarvis Brownlee I saw in the chat.
I was going to say Jarvis Brownlee for stock up as well. He continues to win in one-on-ones and he continues to just be a nuisance for opposing wide receivers. Harold Landry's stock is 100% up because we saw him and we saw how explosive he looked after losing 10 to 15 pounds due to illness.
I know.
I think Harold Landry's stock is absolutely up. I think he looks motivated. I think he looks quick. And I think he looks confident. And I'm going to throw Treylon Burks in there. Treylon Burks keeps catching passes. Treylon Burks keeps answering the bell when his name is called. So
yeah, he does.
I really think Treylon Burks' stock is up through this part of the process. And the only other guy I will say would be Tyler Boyd. And again, that's not something that surprises me about Tyler Boyd being a go-to guy within this offense. I just think he is going to be so critical to Will Levis and so critical to what this offense wants to do.
You remember this time last year, we were speaking about a guy that we really hadn't said anything about, and that name was dropped into this into our chat on YouTube too. It's because we don't have to essentially right now, but that like Kyle Phillips' name hasn't been brought up a lot.
Not at all.
And it's a little bit of a numbers game, and it's a little bit of a talent game right now, too.
Because Jaquan Jackson was drafted to be a returner and a slot receiver. And what is Kyle Phillips? A returner and a slot receiver. And then you also had a slot receiver in Tyler Boyd, so Phillips is odd man out.
But last year, Phillips was supposed to be the slot guy, too.
He was the past 2 years.
Yep.
Stock down for me, John Ojukwu, I agree. Arden Key. You get suspended, your stock goes down. NPF still not playing. So his stock continues to drop. Again, that's harsh, but it's the reality of the situation. But for me, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I would throw anyone that's snapping the ball not named Lloyd Cushenberry.
Well,
stock down?
Stock down, okay. Yes. So
a lot of bad snaps.
Sure. Like way too many balls on the ground. Yeah. Like it just affects practice too much where the play is dead. You don't even get to throw it, run it, nothing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Who's your stock up guy real quick? Or guys? Anybody?
For me, I would the guy I've been most impressed with physically is Thomas Odukoya, and I think he's going to be imperative on. When you watched kickoffs last night, you saw a lot of big bodies where you didn't generally see massive tight ends all over the field. I think he's going to be a guy that can help a lot on special teams as well as big packages.
Very interesting.
That's huge right there, Bert.
615-737-1045 is our number. We can take your Titans questions. I want to continue the Malik Willis conversation because a couple of comments on our YouTube feed, I think, raise interesting questions about him and I think the unfairness around the quarterback position in the NFL. We'll talk about that next. Wrapping up hour 3 on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, RKW 1045 The Zone. Coming up in 10 minutes, something Brent Hubbs told us earlier this morning is very interesting to me about a trend that is a blast from the past in college football. We're going to talk about that coming up at 9 o'clock. Your phone calls at 615-737-1045. Let's go to Jeremy in Nashville first up to kick off, or to finish off hour number 3. What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, good morning, guys. I wanted to comment about Malik Willis comment about Ramon being biased. Ramon's not being biased. He's being realistic. And, his perspective of playing in the league gives you that. Because, I was a big skeptic of Willis when he came out of, Liberty. There was accusations of him not being able to, go through zone or read progressions and whatnot. They said he was taking the snap, looking to the sideline and getting signals as to who to throw the ball to, supposedly. And so, and with the coaching staffs that they've had there in the past, like the inability to develop talent, and I called in earlier about that, when Callahan took over and you saw what Burrow was capable of learning and becoming, how much he would benefit from having a coach like this and a staff like this. And now we're starting to see it, and you want this young man to develop and to grow because he's going to benefit from it down the road. Maybe he gets picked up by somebody else, and in the end, they're actually able to, to trade him for something and, and get something out of it. So it's nothing but good to hear that he's developing like that. So now Ramon's not wrong at all in his take on the situation. That's all I got to say. I'll talk to y'all later.
Thank you, Jeremy.
I promise you I didn't pay Jeremy for that. I promise you. But I promise y'all.
Jeremy Foster, thanks for calling in.
No. But that's what it is. I think what we're seeing right now, before we get more into this, is we're seeing what development should look like. I think Malik started at 0, and now we're seeing him at 10. The thing is, you might be seeing Mason at an 8, Mason at a 10, and Mason's at a 12. Like, Malik has a lot of room to make up.
Yeah.
More than a guy like Mason Rudolph. And to your point, you stated it perfectly. This is fine with him having the ability to be in the pocket, sidearming and throwing stuff. You're in the comforts of your own home. You can't get hit.
Right. I think that this is where Malik Willis should have been starting football games for the first time. And what I mean by that is the old staff did not necessarily fail Malik Willis. He just had about a 3-year learning curve he needed in order to be successful in this league. And if everything had gone to plan, in 2022, he never would have started a game. Never would have been thrown to the wolves out there. It would have been, nope, keep him on the sidelines, and you would have had a Mason Rudolph or a Jake Browning already. That is where I think the previous staff failed Malik Willis. But again, it isn't fair, right? Like when you spend a valuable draft capital on a quarterback and your starter goes down, you got to see what you have. And he wasn't ready. But okay, there are plenty of players in this league that are thrown into situations where they're not ready. You know what they do? They thrive and make the most of it and earn spots. And you were undrafted and you played for 11 years in this league, and you were probably thrown into a situation the first time you started a game where you felt like you probably weren't totally ready. But you made the most of it. You rose to the occasion, and you lasted 11 years in the league.
But you know what I was also able to do? Be extra tight end on road games. Be a guy that got a lot of practice reps.
And that's the tough thing about quarterback.
You know what I'm saying? But
right.
And for him, like, the games that he went in, Malik wasn't ready as a rookie. Heck, he wasn't ready last year. Remember, like, the botch snaps and stuff like that he just would drop.
In London, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and even at home he did that when he had a ball. Like, so what I'm saying, Malik started at 0, and I think now you might say he's at 8 or 9. I mean, 8 to 10. And that to me is the progress that, to your point that we were saying he needed to be had over the last 2 years. Like, look at this. That first year was not a great way to have an intro into the NFL.
Yeah.
It was not 10 sacks in 8 games or 3 games started. Like, that's a lot of bad play and can scar you as a player if you don't have the time to get to that point. He was from day one supposed to be a project.
A long-term project. Because I don't like this comment on YouTube that says Mason Rudolph has reached his ceiling. Malik's is significantly higher. You know what else is different? His floor is significantly lower. And as a backup quarterback, that's all that matters. Yeah. It doesn't matter how high your ceiling is. If you're coming in for somebody who's hurt mid-game or you got to make a spot start, can you still run the offense in a way that is functional? Mason Rudolph can.
Yeah, and has done it.
And has literally in the last calendar year when he was asked to in a pinch.
Crazy. I don't know, man. This is when we talk about Malik versus other guys, it always goes a different avenue. If this as if we're not giving Malik a fair shake, or it's because he's a black quarterback. I'll say it. Because he's a black quarterback, or because he's a runner, or we've even said that you get remnants of thinking he's Steve McNair because he moves and has some of the same attributes.
And Vince Young.
And Vince Young. Like, that's not the case. Like, I'm judging Malik Willis off what he is as a pro right now because I was here in Tennessee with Steve McNair, but I was also in college playing ball and not really paying attention like that. What I saw of VY, Vince Young, was, hey, he was eccentric. He was electric. He was a guy that you knew could sling it.
Electric and eccentric.
Both. He could sling it around, but then it all fell to a pit. Like, what you want out of a guy like Malik Willis is to have him in a spot to where he continually does this. You want him to be Jacoby Brissett plus, right? You want him to be Teddy Bridgewater plus at some point in his career. Like, he's not there. And if you listen to what was said about his former college coach, was it Hugh Freeze? Like, they handcuffed this young man in his development. And what I'm saying right now is I'm Team Malik, and watching him stay in this league, watching him be a better pro for the chance that he can be a 10-year guy. I don't care if he becomes a starter in year 9 or 10, right? For him to be a 10-year guy will be an awesome thing for him in his career. Is he your franchise starter? I don't think so.
Malik Willis is not a franchise quarterback unless that franchise is in another league.
And here's the other thing, too. We've seen guys with higher draft picks not be a franchise guy, too. Trey Lance, Zach Wilson.
I still think it was a good pick. You tried and failed. It happens in this league.
For what you thought it was going to be.
You play quarterback roulette till one hits. They did, and they failed. Move on. Go to the next one. And they did with Will Levis. 615-737-1045. An interesting claim from Brent Hubbs earlier this morning I want to dive deeper into about recruiting becoming a little more old school at the college level. I think we're so cynical about college athletics. Every now and then, there's reason to not be cynical. Brent Hubbs gave us one. We'll talk about that next.
What's going on? Good morning. Happy Friday from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I am Robert Walsh. Hall of Fame game last night. A little bit of firepower. Unfortunately, inclement weather ended the game early, sending the Bears back to Chicago with the 21-17 victory over the Texans. Red Rippon threw 3 touchdowns, but the most interesting aspect of the game had to be the kickoffs. None of the kickoffs in the new format were returned beyond the 32. 3 were brought back to the 26, a yard farther than the old touchback, and one touchback came out to the 30. Tennessee Titans star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins will miss the next 4 to 6 weeks with a knee strain injury. That timeline puts him in line to potentially be back in the lineup for the season opener. Chargers also dealing with an injury to a star player. Quarterback Justin Herbert diagnosed with a foot injury after Wednesday's practice that will put him in a walking boot for 2 weeks. After his time in the boot, Herbert will be on, quote, a gradual return to play protocol and is expected to be ready for week 1. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour of the show. Ramon, Kayla, and Will continues on 104.5 The Zone, known as RKW around the world. Craig, 615-737-1045. How you jump in? We stream live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch.
Please.
With Ramon Foster, I'm Will Bowling. Kayla Anderson has the morning off. Robert Walsh hits all the right buttons, including ours. Behind the glass in our 104.5 The Zone studios. Brent Hubbs was on with us earlier this morning. And again, I always want to remind people, Ramon, that even if you are not a Tennessee fan, if you are a college sports fan, Brent Hubbs has something for you. That's why we love having him on our show weekly, is not just the best insider covering Tennessee athletics. Between him and Austin and the VolQuest crew, we're very thankful for. They also just understand college athletics extremely well. And I thought this was interesting, talking about name, image, and likeness and recruiting and the way that Tennessee has been able to add a flurry of 4- and 5-star athletes over these past few weeks. Brent Hubbs thinks that the old days might be back in a way in recruiting as the NIL playing field is even. This was Brent with us earlier this morning.
Well, I think that Josh Heupel's recruiting team, and I don't mean coaches, I mean the people in the back room, the evaluators, all of those people in the back probably don't get enough credit for what they do in terms of trying to be out in front and be early with some offers. And I think they do a nice job of getting Tennessee, to the point of having getting the tape in front of the coaches that they need to see, calling stuff out, making it easier for the assistant coaches to do the evaluations, which helps you speed things up a little bit. Here's the other thing, too. We talk about NIL a lot, right? NIL. At some point, when the money's pretty even, it comes down to where you're most comfortable. So you got to go recruit them. I think Oregon is learning this, right? Oregon just kind of had the thought process of, we'll just go buy us a class. And they've lost 3 or 4 commits in the last 2 weeks because they don't really want to work in Eugene, live in Eugene. And I don't think they've got the coaches have the relationships with those players that other schools have. I think they've just said, well, we'll NIL it. You can't just NIL it because everybody's got NIL funds now, okay? I mean, at the Power 5 level, everybody's got a plan for NIL. So at some point it comes back to old school recruiting in your relationships, and you've got to work at it. And I think a guy like Alec Aidman has had a year to recruit and a year to get to know guys, and I think you're seeing the fruits of his labor at the tight end position. Josh Heupel has established himself here. Quarterbacks know what this thing is about. They know it's successful, and Josh Heupel can not cherry pick and get just whoever he wants, but he makes an early decision on who they want. Like George. right? There was other quarterbacks in the class, and a lot of people were looking, is Tennessee going to go here, going to go there? Josh Heupel made an early decision. We want George. George is our guy. Point blank. That's where we're going. All of our efforts are going into George McIntyre. And they got him. They didn't try to dance for 2 or 3 quarterbacks. They focused on where they were going, and they got it done. And I think they're trying to do the same in the class of 26. And I think they have to recruit quarterbacks, and you've got to put that effort into the relationships.
I think that's really interesting, Ramon. And David Sanders, the 5-star tackle that's going to commit later this month, Tennessee had him at camp and then recruited him after they saw him play in person. Faison Brandon, the quarterback who's going to commit tomorrow, who, by the way, Steve Wiltfong of On3 just gave a prediction for Tennessee to land Faison Brandon, the 5-star quarterback who's going to commit tomorrow. And like Brent told us, Faison has been a Tennessee lean maybe for a minute now, but it's a still relationship business, even though NIL has changed the process a bit.
Yeah, it is. It is. And here's the thing, too. So it's unique. I told you I'm doing this little coaching thing, right, for this middle school squad. And to your point about identifying talent, I was going to call you Willie. Why was I calling you Willie?
I mean, I've answered it far worse.
As long as you ain't RT Willie, we good to go then, right?
Blitz, Bama, Blitz.
Bama, bitch. I don't care about nothing about
nothing but the time.
What's your red light come on for, Bert?
My red light didn't come on for nothing. I'm back here recording you. I can make new opens in 4 months.
Don't do this, man. But here's the thing about it. So they had a scrimmage last night against Lipscomb. There's a kid that's been identified there that supposedly has an 8th grade offer from Marshall at quarterback. And I'll tell you this, Will, the getting in early process of seeing that guy can translate into our game is real.
It's back.
And to your, yes. And because of that, and we know that everybody has money, now it's about who's going to make me more successful. We spoke about the Vols having plans for guys, not just on the field, but their lives. I've even heard that schools like Ohio State is not just all about NIL and money up front. Yeah. It's about setting them up for jobs also. So everybody now, from what was a disadvantage for some universities, is now a level playing field for the ones that want to be in this conversation. And if you're in that conversation saying, yeah, we got the money, yeah, we got the facilities, well, now it gets back to recruiting and relationships and building and knowing about your mom, knowing about your upbringing, knowing about your little small town in Henning, Tennessee. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what we're back to now, as it somewhat gets back to a level playing field. And again, I think we'll get back to where the winning has to be a part of this process too.
Winning and pro development.
Yes.
Compete for championships and put guys in the league.
Has to be a part of this. Yep. And to me, for the ones that were upset about the NIL and the transfer portal, it always come back to home base. These coaches better do their job as far as recruiting guys, because there's only so much money can do for you. We had a report about 2 weeks ago that the owner and the founder of Nike said, I want to see a championship before I die. Okay, and I'm paraphrasing here.
Phil Knight at Oregon. And they went out and got Deshaun Brain to flip to Oregon the night before he was supposed to commit to Tennessee. I think Texas, I was going to say the country of Texas, the state of Texas had a D tackle that was committed to Oregon that next day also. And both of those young men went back to the university and said, I want to go to a school because the NIL don't matter. That's where, again, relationships, Coach Heupel and his staff identifying guys that can work in that system, identifying guys also that have a whole lot of talent. Like, we're watching David Sanders Jr. right now become one of those dudes that they identified that you said, Will, at a camp. Like, the eye of identifying talent has to always be there at all times. A little bit of Titans news that has broken in the last 10 minutes. The Tennessee Titans have officially announced that Nicholas Petit-Frere has been removed from the PUP list. He is now eligible to return to practice.
Titans news on 104.5 The Zone.
Sorry to interrupt whatever the hell you guys are talking about. A little bit of breaking Titans news. NPF Nicholas Petit-Frere removed from the PUP list. He will be able to practice. The Titans have their right tackle back on the practice field. Back to your regularly scheduled program.
See what happens when you give certain people buttons?
Coming up on Robert and Ramon, you're going to get into Will Levis's side of the DeAndre Hopkins stuff that has gone on. I'm going to take the rest of the show. I figured I would try the Buck Rising awkward silence.
It worked. It definitely makes me feel awkward.
I can't hold on to it as long as he can.
Bert, that was good, man.
I appreciate that.
That was real
ridiculous.
good.
Just trying to find a girl that believes in shooting stars, not believing in shoes and cars, You
got wood floors in your new apartment?
Don't make me. Now I'm about to bump back with it. Stop it.
Yo,
I mean, I'm more of the trips to Florida. Order the hors d'oeuvres straight from the water, views of the page of your favorite author.
I ain't got a clue.
You do know.
What's that?
Flashing Lights, Kanye West.
Oh, old Kanye.
Oh, the good Kanye.
I miss the old Kanye.
I missed the
Hot
old
take.
Kanye.
Thank you.
Yeah, big news for the Titans, though. Like, this right tackle position gets more interesting as I pop my knuckles into the mic. Come on, man. Be a better pro.
Bill Callahan and Brian Callahan have both said they were hoping to get him back today, and they will.
They will.
The race is on at right tackle.
It is.
Where does NPF immediately go in the line? He'll go with the twos. He go to the back of the line. Does he go to the front of the line at right tackle?
No later than twos.
Okay.
I'm figuring out this radio pro stuff, sports entertainment.
What have you been up?
Not a journalist, okay? Like, as far as saying what I've seen as far as the sets out there, the formation. Can't do that one? With the extra tight end.
I think let's say this. Bill Callahan told us. Here we go.
There we go.
Bill Callahan told us on our show, and Brian Callahan, the coaches have spoken about swing tackles also being jumbo tight ends. And he has said before that, hey, look, if you're the third tackle, then you got to be really ready to play on either side of the line because those guys can be jumbo tight ends and goal line sets that we're going to need out there to do a job for us.
Yeah.
So I think we can then say that, okay, well, then John Njoku fits into that category.
Yes.
And Leroy Watson and Jaron Christian are going to be trained as jumbo tight ends in addition to tackles.
And also having a guy in Jalen Duncan who's been specifically at tackle for the most part of this.
Yep.
We've seen John Njoku be an extra tight end in certain plays, right? And with that being said, NPF is a guy that I think is a straight tackle. So I think he's no later than 2 on the depth chart going into today's practice and tomorrow over the weekend. And he'll have to battle out. The thing that we don't know and I don't know yet is, does he still have to have an acclimation period before he actually gets physical?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we saw Harold Landry not have an acclimation.
Exactly. Harold Landry skipped right to the front of the line, but Harold Landry's had a much longer, more successful career than NPF.
Exactly.
615-737-1045. How does the DeAndre Hopkins injury change your expectations for Will Levis? Does your quarterback get a little bit of grace without his number one target now for likely the remainder of training camp? We'll talk about that next.
United Structural System is a foundation repair and waterproofing company that has served Middle Tennessee since 1994. They have more than 25,000 satisfied residential customers. So when it's hot and dry weather outside, do you notice soil cracking and pulling away from your home, leaving holes or gaps next to your foundation? Are your bricks cracking, walls bowing, or doors or windows sticking? These are all signs of possible foundation issues. Your house may be trying to tell you something. On the waterproofing side, this can include drainage and sealers, oftentimes both. Up to 50% of the air you breathe on the first floor of your home is the air that came from your crawl space. So control that moisture and create a healthier home for your family by encapsulating your crawl space. Many repairs that USS does, they are guaranteed for the lifetime of your home. Again, they've been here since 1994, aren't going anywhere. One thing you have to worry about the new guy in town is this: you have no guarantee that they will be around if you have to use that warranty in your home. So always go to USS. They guarantee their best. You can call them at 615-488-7855 or online at USSTN.com.
Hour number 4 of Ramon, Kayla, and Will continues Friday, and we are acting like it.
Yay.
As soon as the show comes to an end, you go to Ramon, Kayla, and Will on your favorite podcast feed. You hit the subscribe button, and there we go. That's the show.
It
and
is.
Those are all the interviews, all the conversations, everything you have missed. On the phone lines at 615-737-1045 before Buck takes over at 10 o'clock. Ramon Foster with DeAndre Hopkins sidelined for 4 to 6 weeks, according to a report from Paul Kaharski. It changes things a bit for Will Levis, who spoke earlier this week before the Hopkins injury about learning how to not force the ball to last year's number 1 target. This was Levis earlier this week when asked, how do you not just rely solely on DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah, it's probably not the best to have that mindset, I'd say. You really just want to find the open guy, but it might be a thing like, hey, if it's not wide open, I got whoever on a backside dagger that I really want to work this, and it might let you get you through progression a little faster. But in a game, it's a different thought process. But when we're in camp or 7-on, stuff like that, where we can kind of experiment with that, that's the time to do it.
So Ramon Foster, tell me if I'm wrong on this assumption. The Titans will still scheme things for DeAndre Hopkins. It's just going to be a different person in that role than DeAndre, obviously, since he's sidelined for 4 to 6 weeks. So you're not going to see the Titans now change their mindset and say, all right, let's get more things ready for Ridley. Let's try to get different concepts installed for our offense. They're still going to try to run the same things to get DeAndre Hopkins open. It just might be Nick Westbrook-Akine or Treylon Burks in place of Hopkins. Fair?
Fair. And here's the other thing, too, that I was glad Will Levis acknowledged is what we were speaking about. We were talking about the backup quarterback conversation is Will Levis said exactly what we were talking about. He said in practice, I'm going to force myself to do certain things that I wouldn't normally do in the game.
I think that's really interesting.
Did you hear that, though?
And Kayla's talked about that, and we've had the conversation a lot of, like, where's the line between experimenting and also throwing the ball to the guy wearing your color jersey and out the other one? Because creating that good habit is also meaningful.
Yes, but to get to your original point, Will, I don't think they have to overdo things because DeAndre Hopkins is out. I think they just simply got to continue to run this offense and put guys in positions to be in that role that D-Hop is playing, not necessarily his routes or his catchability or his ability to get open. It's, look, here's your opportunity to fill a spot while our starter is out, albeit whether it's NWI, whether it's Treylon Burks, whether it's any of these young guys that are behind him. The thing that you have is this: you got a better quality of players that you can still put 3 or 4 or even 5 wide receivers out there to still be productive on offense. What you don't want to happen is what I've talked about as I blend 2 jobs real quick on my Pittsburgh podcast. Right now, they're without Roman Wilson. That's huge. That's a big loss for the Steelers.
Yeah, rookie out of Michigan.
Because their number 1 guy is only George Pickens. So you got George Pickens and who? The thing that you don't have to worry about this year for the Titans is last year it was DeAndre Hopkins and who, right? I don't think we have to worry about this squad filling that void of D-Hop being out. I'm not saying it's going to be the same level of play of DeAndre Hopkins. What I'm saying is it's going to be a consistency of being able to find a playmaker for this offense because you have Treylon, because you have Nick Westbrook-Akine, because you have Tyler Boyd, right? Because you have 2 tight ends that can supplement the missing of a guy. Like when you lose, another blending of the job. When we lost Ron Shazier to his back injury, the Steelers have employed 3 linebackers to fill 1 role. I don't think you have to do that anymore for the Titans missing DeAndre Hopkins. Again, you might go from a 10 on the scale to a 7 because D-Hop is that good, right?
Yeah, right.
But the flow and the mechanics of the offense should stay the same.
I'm going to give you a statement, and I need you to tell me if I'm an idiot or not.
Uh-oh.
I think in some ways, 2024 Tyler Boyd will be this year's equivalent of DeAndre Hopkins from last season. What I mean by that is when everything else breaks down, and when Will Levis is in trouble and says, oh, crap, what do I do? Last season, he threw the ball to DeAndre Hopkins. This season, I think he might throw the ball to Tyler Boyd when the play breaks down.
I'm going to push back just a little bit.
And what I mean by that is when there's pressure and when the pocket begins to collapse, last season there was a lot of D-Hops down there somewhere. I think Tyler Boyd is now that safety valve when the ball's going to come out quickly. And I think that DeAndre Hopkins not being there for these next 3 to 4 weeks might end up making the other relationships even better. And this may end up being partially a positive. I'm going to spin it a little bit and bear with me, but I think it could end up being a positive for Will Levis that now he has to form relationships with Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd the way he formed a relationship that already exists with DeAndre Hopkins.
Facts. I would throw Tyler Boyd in that Tyler Boyd's down there somewhere conversation.
I don't say down there somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, he's close to me somewhere.
He's close to me somewhere. In a very real world of where dreams come true, I'd love, Will, for that to be Treylon Burks. And that ain't pandering to him or Ron Slay in that. But if you were to ask me as far as talent-wise, what he said, he's checked every box in the offseason, and the coaches have too. In the perfect world of wanting to meet expectations, I'd love for it not to be Tyler Boyd. I'd love for it to be Treylon.
I completely agree.
And that ain't no knock on Tyler Boyd, but how long is Tyler Boyd signed for? 1 year.
Different roles too, right?
Yeah, and it's different
Treylon
roles.
Burks is the Joker.
Yeah.
Treylon Burks is the guy that can play all 4 of the wide receiver positions and be an explosive threat. Tyler Boyd is all reliable.
Yeah.
Tyler Boyd's the number 1 at your favorite restaurant. Like, he's going to get the job done, and he's going to always be on time. Treylon Burks is when you venture off the menu a little bit and go with the special.
Yeah. And that's where, again, it was because of an injury that what's his name is out. D-Hop is out right now. But I think it's one of the more positive things that could have happened for Will Levis. Again, when you got to get outside of your comfort zone, that's when you should grow more. And that's what I'm hoping for a guy like Will Levis. And I saw somebody in our chat say this too. The excuses of Will Levis, development, and becoming an NFL quarterback is a little bit thrown out of the door now because they have surrounded him with a lot of talent. That is one of the things they did this offseason is to really put him in a position to be successful. Now, if we believe that Nick Holtz and Coach Brian Callahan are that good of play callers and offensive minds, there's zero excuse on this one because we saw him do the exact same thing. My bad. We saw him do the exact same thing with Jake Browning the last part of Cincinnati season.
And that was my question to you now. Does Will Levis get any more grace, a little bit of slack, if now things don't look as clean for the rest of training camp? Is it fair of us to say, well, he doesn't have Hopkins, so it's okay? You don't think so?
No, absolutely not. Because this is one thing I really came to coming to Jesus with myself and my career too, and others too. Like, we play a game, right? Football is a game, 100%. We have fun while we're playing it. We hate practice, but boy, we love the game. But behind that game is a business. So in his situation, being that he's not established like a Joe Burrow, C.J. Stroud didn't have that type of year. His positioning right now is a lot like Trey Lance and Zach Wilson and Mac Jones. Either you are or you ain't. And when they type it into their systems and say, hey, did Will Levis do this, and this, and that, and this better this year with the talent that he has, which is, I think, better than last year? And if it's a no, then you don't give him no grace on that one. I think if you say his O-line is getting him killed, like if it's that situation.
Sure. Maybe that's a little bit different.
But if he gets better protection this year, right, and they're giving him better options to make plays with, I don't think Will Levis get much grace into moving forward in his career here as a Tennessee Titans franchise quarterback.
The timing and the decisiveness still needs to improve for Levis, even if he's throwing to Treylon Burks instead of DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I think that ultimately, doesn't matter who he's throwing to. Doesn't matter that DeAndre Hopkins is not there. I agree. I don't think there's any excuses for Will Levis.
Not anymore, man. But again, Will Levis is built for this, from what we know. He said he salivates at these opportunities to be this type of guy. And he's going to be given that too. Like, we're not talking about Will Levis versus Ryan Tannehill no more, and we thought Will Levis could be the guy of the future. We're talking about battles with his backup quarterbacks. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, the pressure is off of him as far as security. One thing as a player you want as a pro is job security, and right now Will Levis has job security.
Yep. I just think that this team has a very specific plan for Treylon Burks, and I don't know if the Hopkins injury really changes it. That's not a negative. I think, to me, it means that they have got a Treylon Burks package in a lot of different sets. And they want him to do a lot of things that they will not ask any other receiver on this offense to do. I think now he will get a more prominently displayed chance to do those things really well. Because I always think back to what Kevin Dyson has told me before on this station, saying you get to a point as a wide receiver and the offense starts scheming things for you and what you do well. But you have to earn that. Mm-hmm. Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins, there are bookmarks, I would imagine, in Nick Holtz and Brian Callahan's game plans that say Calvin Ridley plays, DeAndre Hopkins plays. I think that there are Treylon Burks plays. And I think that there are ways for them to make him a focal point of this offense and a successful, again, I'll say quote-unquote joker that can move all around, can be in motion, who can run the ball out of the shotgun, who can be a deep target. So I simply don't think schematically the DeAndre Hopkins injury really changes that. I think the Treylon Burks plays are still the Treylon Burks plays.
They are. And here's the other thing, too. DeAndre Hopkins got time to get back. You know, like, I'm not overly worried about it. I told you I was a 4 out of 10 if he was or was not in the game against Chicago to open up the season. So it's fair, but it's growth for everybody else. Somebody else's bad situation is your opportunity. Like, that's what the NFL is for. And whether it be NWI, whether it be Treylon, whether it be Tyler Boyd, whether it be Kyle Phillips, like, it's there in front of you. Like, D-Hop is a guy that you knew that if he's out there, the ball is coming his way sometime soon.
Yeah.
And you had to wait your turn. These guys now have been facilitated to be in a position to where competition is there. I think we brought that up on Rand when we had him on. Like, this offseason, at almost every spot, Rand Carthon, Titans GM, at every spot have created competition. Like, right now, we're clamoring over the idea that NPF, Nicholas Petit-Frere, is practicing tomorrow. And what is the rotation? Where is he at, right?
Yep.
We're talking about inside linebacker right now. 3-4 guys at a logjam. What about the defensive line? There's a logjam of guys trying to get on the field to go prove themselves. They have at least set that up to where whoever are the starters at the beginning of the season have actually bust their butts to be there too.
It's interesting. So ultimately at this point, we're talking about guys who are going to replace Hopkins in training camp. There's still a chance that nobody has to be DeAndre Hopkins in a game.
Absolutely.
Because I think that he's back either week 1 or week 2. Yeah. From what we know.
Yeah, say no later than week 2. And if I was a betting man, if I could put 25 cents on it, I'd say he'd be ready for game 1. But that's my personal opinion. We'll see how he feels and his knee reacts.
It is good news for Treylon Burks. No doubt. And we said in hour 3, his stock is up. His stock is absolutely up the way he's practiced this week. Just got to keep doing it.
If he takes advantage of it.
Absolutely.
And again, we hadn't even mentioned the other positions like the tight end. Like, again, we have that now, too. 2 tight ends that can catch, potentially 3, maybe 4, and 2 running backs that are versatile out of the backfield, too. So, again, when you lose a guy like D-Hop for this team of the Titans, like, I don't think it's a cave. You're not living in a cave anymore.
Because
talent.
Right. Because you have Treylon Burks and Nick Westbrook-Akine and Tyler Boyd and Calvin Ridley. I'm not listing them in order of importance there. Don't worry.
You mentioned
feel better.
You mentioned this earlier though too, but this is why we as people that comment on or cover the Titans and fans don't make these decisions, because a lot of folks would have had Treylon Burks on another team somewhere.
Yeah.
Because that was that conversation. We need to trade Treylon Burks. Like, you don't need to trade Treylon Burks.
And I still just feel like Nick Westbrook-Akine is going to be as important to replacing Hopkins as Treylon Burks.
Oh, yeah.
Over these next few weeks.
One thing you can't deny about NWI, he is consistent.
Absolutely he is.
He is consistent, man. And I laugh because as an undrafted guy, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. You got to go out there, and it's like the movie, The Five Heartbeats. Every night I got to prove my love. Like, that's him every single year. Every year he has to prove his validation of being an NFL wide receiver. And that's why I love guys like him, man, because all you ask for is an opportunity. And every time they've knocked, he's answered.
Yeah, I have a feeling, according to what I've seen on the YouTube channel, the F and Bank chat, I'm going to catch some heat for that opinion at 3 o'clock today on 3
About what? What I got Savage?
About Nick Westbrook-Akine playing outside receiver while Hopkins is out.
I mean, he has before, though, on this one.
Absolutely, he has.
I don't know. We'll see. I trust his staff offensively more than I think I have in years past, especially with Tim Kelly's offense. And then there's the other thing, too. You don't have to solely rely on a running back to get your game going. That ain't no knock, because Bert actually sent us an article that Derrick Henry is being overly physical in practice in Baltimore.
Yeah, he is.
Any update on that one, Bert?
Yeah, so yesterday, Marlon Humphrey put out an update saying, because someone had alluded to the fact that the Ravens are in pads, Derrick Henry looking a lot more physical with the pads on, and Marlon Humphrey quoted that tweet and said, "Yes, Derrick Henry took me for a ride yesterday," to which everyone said, "Whoa, hey, pause, calm down."
What is wrong with the internet, man?
I don't know, man. They're coming after him.
I did wonder that about Derrick. Not to say that one division is superior to the other, but the fact that he got to go to Baltimore, and I've heard numerous folks say Baltimore has the worst training camp of almost anybody in NFL. They're overly physical, too physical. Like, Harbaugh is a menace on how he constructs a practice.
Baltimore summers are also, you would think like, oh, Baltimore, it can't be that bad. But it's so humid because of how close they are to water. There's just water surrounding them all the time. So when it's hot, it's muggy, it's humid. Yesterday, 2 offensive linemen had to leave, guards, in fact, who couldn't finish in the heat. How does that make you feel?
Why did you have to say it like that?
I was asking you.
Why did you have to name them?
Defend your boys, right?
Yeah, it was hot. We spoke about it earlier. The reason D-Hop might have this strain is because of dehydration. The world is hot right now, Bert, okay? Everybody's dehydrated, okay? They need to have IVs on the practice field. Don't call out my guards like that, man. You're better than this.
You see where the loyalty lies. Even though they were Ravens guards, they were still guards, damn it. You can't, don't come after my position.
I hate you in Baltimore.
I hate the fact that the U.S. is down 3-0 to Morocco in men's soccer.
It was just 0-0.
Yeah, it's not going well. John Tolkien, the left back for New York Red Bulls, just with an absolute disaster class and closing down Ashraf Hakimi a minute ago. About a 40-yard run for goal.
The way you say international names, Will, is bless you.
Hakimi is one of the best right backs in the world. It's the guy I said is probably the best. Well, he is, not probably. He's the best player in the men's soccer Olympics. There he is right there. Wearing the captain's armband. This is shocking defending. I mean, what are we doing? Close down the angle, my guy.
Will is giving updates on the USA.
It's unbelievable. He loses a header 40 yards from goal and lets the best right back in the world just maraud down the field. Close down the angle, John Tolkien. Scored a game-winning goal against Nashville last year, but John Tolkien is absolutely asleep at the wheel today. He feels like it's 9 a.m., even though there it's, 3 p.m.?
Daggone Maracas.
Unbelievable.
Everybody hurts.
John Tolkien want to come play receiver for the Titans?
No.
Quit your day job.
No, Will.
He'll have plenty of time to go watch other U.S. sports because U.S. Olympic team about to go out in men's soccer.
U.S. soccer.
Disappointing. 615-737-1045. Headlines on the way out. What we've missed. And the news of the morning again for the Titans just breaking about 40 minutes ago. We'll talk about NPF coming up.
People are talking about Window Nation. Their customer, Vicky, says, "We couldn't be happier. This was a great experience." She's just one of over 33,000 five-star reviews. That's because Window Nation is all about value. And this August, they're giving you a great value during the Window Nation anniversary sale. Right now, buy 2 windows and get 2 free. There's no limit to how much you could save. Plus, you could save big with no interest or payments for 24 months. Act now and you'll get an extra $250 in credits too.
Window Nation values your satisfaction in their quality, service, and affordability. That's why they stand behind their windows with a lifetime warranty. Window Nation was also recently ranked highest on Forbes' list of best window installation companies, so you can trust Window Nation for high quality, affordable windows. Stop paying more than you have to. Hurry, sale ends August 31st, so schedule a fast in-home estimate right now at 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com.
Friday morning, wrapping up the show on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Our weekend begins in 15 minutes. Here at RKW, what you got going on this weekend?
Man, I probably will go to the Titans practice tomorrow, man. Nice. Especially since NPF is out there. I want to see what that looks like. And have some family time, man. After this weekend, I'm locked in. Titans Radio, Mike Keefe said the other day, Ramon will be back. I got that going on. So this may be one of my final free, air quotation marks, weekend.
Nice.
I also got to get my back porch right, man. I was pressure washing it and got distracted, and I got to go back to finish pressure washing it. So little honey-do list things I got to knock out. Well, I might take my boo thing out on a date.
Nice.
Little small stuff before we kick
where are we
off.
going?
Where you want to go? Kane?
Wherever the hell you named all those appetizers from, that's where I want to go.
Yeah, Kane Prime is up there. I've yet to go down Will's spot.
I went over the weekend.
Did you? Yeah. You had
Everyone there knows us.
Yeah.
Like the waiter and the general manager are huge fans of our show.
Give me a table for 3, please.
So I was thinking. That's what I'm saying.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
You are third wheel, or am I you and Cheyenne's third wheel?
No, I thought it was me, you, and Will.
That creamed corn brulee.
You wouldn't be the third wheel. Will would be the third wheel.
They have 5 different, I love that, 5 different kinds of old fashions.
I kind of want to try all of them.
If you ever need a NASCAR podcast, third wheeling it would be a good one for you.
Sure.
I thought those are situations where low riders in LA where they ride around on 3 wheels.
That's called what is it called when those
low rider?
No, when they bounce around. But I thought it was called something.
Hydraulics.
You're the worst.
I am the worst.
I know what you mean. My wedding season starts tomorrow.
You
out of town for a wedding, and then next weekend I've got another one.
You're in that era, man. I remember that era. It's about 11 years ago, but like mid-20s to like right at 30 is when everybody friends getting married. 2
in August, 1 in November, 2 in March, 1 in May of next year is the current wedding slate for your boy.
Is it?
And I went to go get my, I've had a ton of shirts I needed to get dry cleaned. My first time ever going to the dry cleaners because I've never had shirts nice enough that have to be dry cleaned. Mm-hmm. I would just throw them in the washer. But these shirts, like I went to a nice place, like got nice dress shirts, like, all right, these actually need to be dry cleaned.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so I just threw my suit in there too, just like, once a year, like get the suit dry clean, like get ready for wedding season, stuff like that. And more expensive than I thought. I did take them 8 shirts and a suit, so.
No, that's gonna run it up.
It was like right at $100.
Yeah, no, that's gonna run it up. Speaking of dry cleaning, so thank you for reminding me. Also, by the way, if you have seal in the floor curtains, take them to the cleaners to get clean. Okay, because I got to go pick up some curtains at the house that I also have to get clean too. Well, I had to get clean.
I was about to say you can just use a steamer, but I forgot that your name is not manual labor Ramon, so. He's gonna let
what's crazy. You know
Ramon
me
Foster,
enough,
not Manuel Foster.
You know me enough that you know that I do a lot of manual work around here, man. My next dog, I'm gonna name him Manuel, by the way, because if Zeus Foster gets up again at 1 and 2 o'clock at the night to let him outside, me and him gonna tussle. Okay.
Why don't you just get somebody to install a doggy door
and let you crawl in there? No, absolutely
you
not.
You always see right through me.
So a little bit of Tennessee news. Did you guys see Christian Moore got called up to AA with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim of Los Angeles, who are Angels in Anaheim?
Go Vols!
You know where AA is for the Los Angeles Angels?
No.
Y'all don't know?
In California.
No.
Where?
An hour south.
It's in Alabama?
Joe Hunk territory.
Easy?
The Rocket City Trash Pandas.
Let's go.
Will now have a locker for Christian Moore. That is in Madison, Alabama, right outside Huntsville, where our friend Ben McKee is from right out there. Yeah. So if you're a Vols fan and you want something fun to do over the weekend, I don't know if they're at home this weekend, but Christian Moore now plays for a baseball team that plays an hour south of here. Maybe a little more than an hour and a half, maybe.
I thought about going to a Sounds game this weekend, too, but they're out of town also. Yeah, they're out of town. Him making his move up, that is huge, man. But I like it for this reason. For a guy that had a little bit of flack early in how he coached, Tony Vitello, he's actually proven to develop guys and get them to the next level and quickly. So kudos to him, man. Number 8 overall pick. Let's go.
I think there's a chance he gets up to the big leagues this year.
By the way, the name of that stunt with hydraulics is three-wheel motion.
I looked it up and it said hopping.
Hopping. No, hopping is the competition.
Okay.
Bouncing the car up and down.
Have you ever been in one before?
I have not. I had a guy in high school that had one of those. Well, none of my teammates have had hydraulics like that. I used to get the Lowrider magazines back in the day. I love that culture, though.
You got to buckle up because every time I've ever been in one, it's threw me to the roof.
You've actually been in a hydraulics car?
Yeah. So some of the guys that used to play at ECU were in love with lowriders. So they would do the hydraulics and do pull up to a parking lot, hang out, see whose car can hop the most.
Oh man, look at y'all! I didn't know y'all had that much culture over there.
They're not really. It's everyone else's culture that gets thrown into Greenville. Greenville is not culture.
Okay, then I got a good buddy of mine, VFL Sinclair Canis from Greenville.
There you go.
Yeah.
NPF's back off PUP. That was the big story an hour ago. If you missed it, so Nicholas Petit-Frere will be back at it today on the practice field. Did you guys see what the NCAA champion discus thrower was talking about on Twitter yesterday?
Did not. I missed out.
I think you did see this. She is from Vanderbilt. Veronica Fraley is at the Olympics. Olympics starting today in track and field. Tweeted, "I compete in the Olympics tomorrow and can't even pay my rent. My school, Vanderbilt, only sent about 75% of my rent while they pay football players who haven't won anything enough to buy cars and houses." 3 thumbs down. Flavor Flav responded and paid her rent for her.
Yeah,
and
boy.
she has a GoFundMe. She has raised $15,000 to support her track and field career. I will say this, not as a slight to Vanderbilt. This is a sad reality for a lot of track and field athletes who are world-class Olympians, who are oftentimes working second jobs in order to make themselves enough money to go to track meets. Not a Vanderbilt problem. This is just a track and field problem.
If you want to feel really bad, go look at the disparity of payouts for gold medals.
Oh, I know. I've seen that too.
It's pretty tough.
It is. That is our show. That is the week. We are back at it Monday morning in studio, starting off another week of Titans training camp, a Titans game week, one might say. Preseason game week. Don't tempt me with a good time, Ramon Foster.
I will, man. I promise you that. But y'all must remember, man, our Friday send-off, call somebody you ain't talked to in a while, apologize, just be good to somebody. Buy somebody a random beer down here on Broadway, but at all costs, make it back to us on Monday. And your Twitter fingers and your mic is always hot.